process on the Robert's rule. So parliamentary procedure, please be open. I'm open. Just, may we stand and say the pledge? Refreshing. Di mas takilo di hinasokuli mas takilo di corazono. Dani mas vigo ni nacional o refreshing mais ado para bairro postegi, para defendi e hinengi cultura e linguagem e aire e hanum da nitanu CHamoru ni rechofco direito de na justa este who afirma e hilu Biblia da di bandeira e bandeira luar. Again, my name is David Balta Herrera, and today this is the CHamoru Land Trust Commission regular board meeting. It's Thursday, February 15, 2024 at 1 p.m. The CHamoru Land Trust Commission is held here at room 590, Marine Corps Drive, ITC Building, Suite 223, second floor, Tamuning, Guam. Public comments will be made at COTC admin at cotc@guam.gov. To view the meeting virtually, log on to GovGuam, live YouTube or COTC Facebook page or Google Meet, join the video calling. At this moment, I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I would like to ask for a roll call. Commissioner Berdanu. Here. Commissioner Garrido. Here. Kampulos Nasibus, Attorney General, we have a quorum, sir? Yes? Yes. Okay, so the first agenda in our meeting is the certification of public notice requirement, which I mentioned, and it was published at the Guam Daily Post on February 8, 2024, and February 13, 2024. The Guam public notice was published on the website and also at COTC Facebook page. The third order of business is the approval of the minutes for October 19, 2023. So if you have any comment or corrections, reference to the October 19, 2023, please voice your recommendation or corrections. Here, a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes of October 12, 2023 and October 17, 2023.
I second the motion.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So there's no opposition, the motion is passed. Okay, item number 4, Administrative Director's Report. Okay, Mr. Birch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You notice that we're short on staff today. Many of them are under the weather, so am I. I informed the chairman that over the weekend I came down with something that I don't want to share with anybody else, don't wear a mask. So I'm not at the top of my game today, but I'll do my best to, especially with the shortage of staff. It's not just affecting more land trust. I have the same issue with the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission. Something is in the air that's going around, so I advise all of you to mask up if you're still healthy, if you have a chance. Anyway, one of the biggest things that we've done is because of all the issues that we've had with all our reports coming in on our constituents regarding their qualification and the genealogy requirements. I took upon myself to request a legal opinion of the Attorney General's office, and I actually went back to the latest legal opinion from the AG, as legal opinion 18-0226, which addresses two major and key issues that we've been deliberating here on and off. And that's the authority of the administrative director to approve leases without commission approval, and the authority to transfer or switch an applicant's sequential priority as to the date and time. And this is the opinion that we both discussed, that is deemed some leases as not void but voidable, while others were declared null and void. So, Ledger, you can pass it out to the board. That's the request for legal opinion I handed you, and I had 5 specific areas that we've been addressing here. And I want to make sure that we have clarity on this from the AG's office. But I realize that we've been having issues on this ourselves. So one is the awarding of leases to, for example, applicant A who applied on December 2nd, 95 at 9:57. We know that we are caught at 8:07 in the morning. Working these applications, we always say contradicts the issue of date and time. But we've been moving forward basically with those that we have leases. But what about the applicants? We're stuck on number 6. And the second one was the approval of an applicant's request to switch the application type from residential to agriculture, resulting in the awarding of an agricultural lease. However, neither the Act nor the GARR grants applicants the authority to change the application type, nor does it authorize the CLPC to approve such changes. And the third one is allowing an agricultural leasee to construct a residence on an agricultural lease lot before complying with subsection 6120A1 of Chapter 6, Title 18 GARR. The fourth one was the awarding of the residential and agricultural leases on unregistered property, which directly contradicts subsection 75105F of Chapter 75, Title 21 GCA. And the last one is the granting of a lease to an applicant who failed to provide sufficient documentation to qualify as a native CHamoru as defined in section 75101 of Chapter 75, Title 21 GCA. So we do have Assistant AG from the AG's office here, Attorney Norman Miller. He'll guide us through this, but these are the questions for legal opinion that I asked of the Attorney General himself. Attorney Miller just received this from me also. I sent this out the other day because these are questions we've been struggling with since I've been here, about 3 months or so. And we've been struggling with this, and apparently the board has been struggling with this even longer than that. I guess it's all 3 of you have been seated here. This is a big question. So I think it's about time we get this clarified. So it would depend on Attorney Miller to grab off the seat of his pants because he wasn't aware of this, to try to guide us through on some of these issues. But just a heads up that if we don't have clarity on it at this point, then I would recommend in those cases specifically that we table them until we get some feedback, okay? But, so, I just, sorry to dump it on you, Attorney Miller at the last minute. But this is something that I feel that we have to clear the air on. You brought it up, Commissioner Guido many times, and Acting Chairman, you brought up several times these very specific issues. So we've been keeping note, and I've been keeping note in it. So it's about time to get a response to that. That's my major thing. We've been doing other administrative work here too. We've been training for the new MIS system that's replaced already the AS400. The AS400 is obsolete. So our staff, 2 of them, we only have 2 admin staff, Dexter and Joey Cruz. Joey's out today, he's at the doctor's, as last I heard from him. I hope the staff are okay, that they don't have anything major. It's probably just the flu. And so Dexter's been around here to help out, but they've been attending these trainings. We've been using this conference room for those trainings. We're right next door to Department of Admin, so we've been assisting them with that. And then, of course, we have our staff. Glenn is not here, he's our supervisor, but we do have a couple of land agents here that we can go through the constituent matters if necessary. Otherwise, I have a brief on each one of them that I'll provide you. And to make things move forward. And then, of course, I like to excuse Joanna at about 5:30. She has a death in the family, she has to go attend to. I mean, at 4:30. So after that, we won't have anybody up at that console. We depend on PBS to handle that, hopefully. But hopefully we don't last too long because I'm under the weather too. I'll try to stick it out as long as I can. So if you have any questions, that's my director's report, and we can just get right into the meat of the meeting. I do notice that we do have some constituents here, so I'll leave it up to the board if you want to bring them forward on the agenda, or we just move forward with the way the agenda is as listed.
Well, before I give my 2 cents, are you up to speed where you can be giving us advice on these items that we just mentioned? Or would you need more time?
Mr. Chairman, members, the office would need more time. There is a process. It's the formal opinions of the Attorney General are the products of a number of attorneys contributing to a document. It's not me all by myself. And as the director said, the request for the opinion went up yesterday, and so I would expect in the near term we'll have something back to you formally in writing, but it's really not something we can speak to today.
Okay, so with that being said, I propose that we sideline this until meeting in the future.
Okay, that would be the request for legal opinion.
The request to sideline these issues so that we can give legal a chance to catch up and be more well-versed on these issues so that he can give us a good legal interpretation and
Yeah, on the void rules, right, we kind of discussed this from the past meeting, that we had approximately 200, right, out of the 200, just like 97 slash claims, some that have been litigated or still being reviewed. So perhaps we can give Attorney Miller that update from the past minutes, just to get him up to speed, right, and then, like you said, we move on. I mean, they will, because this is a lengthy process, right? There's 200 that are still under the void and void rules.
Yes, approximately 200.
Yeah, okay, so do we need to make a motion here to move forward on this one, or do we just?
Now, I'm just advising you, you don't need to make a motion on the request for legal opinion. That's already gone through. It's basically that when we come to the issues that involve this, like, for example, the SBA loan guarantee request, that very much is affected by this. And some of our constituent concerns that are coming up later on may be involved. We'll depend on Attorney Miller to give us advice on which ones they may be, but I have a feeling that there's 5 here listed on the SBA loan guarantee request that is definitely affected by any response from the AG's office.
Okay. All right, so that's clear for us to provide him the history, just so he can be up to speed. Okay, so any comment, Madam Brigadier?
No,
Okay.
we'll wait for the
Commissioner?
attorneys.
well, I don't have any actual comments right now because I would like to get legal to give me a good opinion on the legality of what each and every case may need. So, like I said, until he can catch up and be up to speed with these cases, I think it'd be unfair to put him in the spot like that and make a decision that he's not versed in.
Okay,
So I move that we sidetrack this into our next meeting, whether it be through recess or the regular monthly meeting.
I think we need to make the, do I hear a second?
Second?
Yes.
So
I think.
which are you planning to, the request or the constituents here that were
Yeah.
listed here?
You're right, Director. Everything that's listed on this 200 and there's 5, 10, 15,
Yes.
19 that are here are all intertwined.
Yes,
So as we go on each constituent here, it would be reflecting the void groups.
yes,
So it's a good time for our attorney to hear the findings from each land agent's report. That would kind of give you an overview on each constituent. Would that be fair? Right,
it's your call.
yeah, okay, so as we move on to the next agenda, and then as we start going through each constituent, we will hear from the constituent themselves and from our land agents report. So that would kind of mesh, then our attorney.
We just won't take any final action on,
Right, yeah.
on those matters.
Because most of the actions are for loan guarantee, for example, for the Small Business Administration with a list of findings. And that's the challenge we have. So,
Mhm.
okay, there being no objection, we move on to the old business, number 5. And that's bill number 179-37, Guam International Country Club, Police Board Resolution. So just briefly, if you can share what your finding is, or, because I know we had a resolution for this.
Yes,
And
and I
then there was some
included,
modifications.
I included in the resolution, and Attorney Miller had gone over it. And,
Just briefly. Okay.
and we added in this section dealing with, following the local building codes, federal codes, also EPA codes.
Okay, and that would be on item
That would be,
8 or
no, well, it's under section 2, item H,
8?
the very last one,
Okay,
where it says the leasing shall be required to comply with applicable building codes, environmental regulations, and federal rules and regulations related to building construction, environmental protection, including but not limited to the International Building Code, that's IBC, Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, Clean Water Act, CWA, Clean Air Act, CAA, National Environmental Policy Act, that's the NEPA, and the Resource Conservation Recovery Act, RCRA, and NFEA, which is Standard 855, as may be amended and revised from time to time for any installation of battery storage systems. And that's because we are unaware of, and in fact, we're not aware if local EPA or even the building codes include any regulations or rules concerning the storage and disposal of batteries, most especially the batteries that are lithium-ion type related. And I know last time, I did get print out all my reports, but I could get that to you later, that one of the biggest issue I found out with solar panels is that they have an expected lifespan of 25 to 30 years. And this lease that we're planning to approve here is for 30 years. Although the panels themselves there are new technology coming up every day, there's new ones developed even today, that they might not be that expensive to replace. But there are issues with the environmental impact of those solar panels as they deteriorate and their disposal. So legal did go over the resolution that you just handed out to you.
okay.
Last time said everything was good except for adding in the last section there. And it's compared to a golf course. Of course, there's very little of no pesticides that are sprayed on the ground. The big issues was the disposal of the panels and the lifetime of that. And what we're unaware of is any regulations for the storage and disposal of the batteries. Because lithium ion is comprised of various chemicals, and should they ever decide to mix on their own, they create heat, and sometimes they will get hot and turn into a hot fire. So for one of the requests that, I know, Mr. Chair, that you asked, that they store the batteries on the basement side of the International Country Club up there, and we sit at the top. I would not want to sit in that office when those batteries goes off.
Okay.
So I would disagree with that 100%. It's either we use the building exclusive for CLTC's use, and not to include any batteries anywhere near that building.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, this is a topic I can speak to at great length and great depth.
Okay.
I come from Arizona. I used to represent a political subdivision that was probably the most active location in the country for installation of what are called BESS systems, battery electrical solar storage systems. The solar panels are wonderful. They do wear out, but they're no different than your TV wearing out or your refrigerator wearing out. They do have to be properly disposed of, they do have to be properly maintained, all that kind of good stuff. But rapidly, over the last couple of years, the solar industry has come around to the conclusion that if you're going to install panels, you also need to install batteries. The engineering challenge with panels is you get maximum output from the panels, generally speaking, in the middle of the afternoon. Which is, generally speaking, when the electrical load on the whole grid is at its lowest. Because we're all not home. The highest utilization of the grid is typically right about 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, when we all go home, we all flip on the aircon, turn on the TV, get the stove going, and the sun isn't shining. And so, to fill that astronomical void, we now, as a regular process, install batteries along with panels. The challenge with the batteries is that the battery box, typically it's about as big as a refrigerator, and it's simply full of chemicals. What the solar panels are doing is they're creating electrons. The electrons go in one side of the panel, instead of one side of the box fills up with electrons, and then at night, when we're not pushing any electrons in, the electrons flow back out, and that's how we get electricity at night. But it's a refrigerator full of chemicals. Under certain circumstances, those boxes, they don't actually catch fire, but they do undergo something called thermal runaway, where a chemical reaction is created inside the box that creates a substantial amount of heat, and it gets to the point where you can't stop it. There's no switch I can throw, there's no button I can push, there's nothing I can do to stop the heat that's being generated by those chemicals. One of the fire agencies I used to work for, we had incidents where batteries triggered a thermal runaway, and they came around the perspective that really the only thing they could do to keep the area safe was park the fire truck about 100 feet away from the battery and just squirt water on it until the chemicals were all,
Settle down.
they don't even settle down, they just burn off.
Oh,
We had in the very beginning, of the evolution of battery storage systems, the original thought was, well, yes, we should have them indoors.
Okay.
Keep them out of the weather. We'll be able to air condition the space. That'll all be great. That's wonderful, except I still, from an engineering point of view, the fact that they're indoors and there's an aircon system going doesn't mean that I've prevented the thermal runaway risk. And there have been incidents where firefighters who were responding to incidents where battery systems were indoors suffered significant injuries because they didn't really know what they were getting into. They didn't understand what was going on with this box that was spewing smoke. The good news is the industry and the government, the folks who put together building codes and things like that, have spent a tremendous amount of time over the past couple of years working together to develop codes, plans, expectations, what to do and what to do safely when you have these big boxes full of chemicals. They're great systems, they work very well, they do exactly what they're supposed to do, 99.99% of the time, they in fact are safe. My only concern was if this is going to be the first time we bring large utility scale BESS systems onto Guam, then there needs to be a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion with the fire department and the folks that, who approve the electrical permits and the rest of the engineering. Are we putting these things in a safe and responsible manner for the benefit of the grid, for the benefit of the people who might be working next to them, and frankly, the people who might be living downwind
Yeah.
of those systems.
Yeah, this location that we have down at the, that area is basically almost like a confined space. Generally, it's like very limited ventilation, but go ahead, I agree, and
I mean, I've worked on opportunities, battery storage systems where, for better or for worse, we were building the system 150 feet away from where people were living, and the engineers all told us it was safe. So far, so good. But there is a lot of discussion and a lot of engineering review that needs to go in when you're shifting from simply installing panels to installing panels and batteries.
very good. Thank you for that. That's a good debrief. Okay, Director, so your recommendation is that not to use the confined space on the third floor for battery storage, and I'm pretty sure that's going to.
Anywhere that we have an office.
Okay, okay. Oh,
So, you said the resolution was good last time to add in that section regarding these codes, the environmental and the building codes, and that's been added in, legal's going over it. So now it's up to you to approve or not approve via motion the resolution number 2024-001.
On item H, and
Okay.
about here, since our attorney was mentioning about heat and cooling system and the fire truck, so should we include the GFD in this section H, or would that be covered by the
I believe that
regulatory agency?
these items we listed under H are items that are included when you apply for the permit. It's a permitting process.
Okay,
But you wanted it in the resolution, but in reality, they're gonna go through this, if they go through Public Works, and all the fire department, everybody else is involved with the permitting process.
this is with any comment from our commissioner with this? Okay.
Well, I feel it would be premature for us to limit this resolution. I think there's item H covers almost everything,
Yes.
and the normal permitting does include all the authorizing agencies on it. Now, in as far as specifications like you were referring to, the bid will come out from Guam Power Authority. They would be the regulating agency for that. All, our role is just providing the land for the project. But the authorizing authority for the entire project is going to be Guam Power Authority. It's not easy to get permit. All those regulating authorities, agencies, they take their sweet time and they go through it, but how versed they are with battery storage, I know that GPA has problems with batteries here in Guam, because we have dry cell batteries in our substations, and we tried all types of batteries in our substation to run our electronics in the substation, our supervisory control and data acquisition, and batteries don't have a long life in Guam. If it was stated that it was good for 20 years, you're lucky to pull 10 out of it. So we'll leave that, as far as I'm concerned, I'll leave that to GPA to reconcile with the project, because they're overseeing the project.
Madam Commissioner, Bernard?
Well, I'm happy to know that H was included by our director. That's, my concerns is the environment and the safety.
And it's a good thing that, Madam Commissioner Bernard, noted that last couple of meetings about PFAS. PFAS, I believe, is a chemical use ban. And it's a good point that we brought this up, because the representatives for the Guam International Country Club are here, and perhaps now that they heard about the battery being the confined space on the third floor or the first floor, then perhaps they may have some, because we want to do a sharing on the facility, and looks like what we're seeing now is that option to use the confined space for battery would be kind of, so if I may invite the engineers or the representative for the country club to come on board and sign in and.
Wait, I wanted to, sorry, I introduced.
This is from the International Country Club, so.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Mr. Birch, Mr. Miller. My name is Carlos Camacho, and I would like to find out if we could just if we could just recess this part for 5 minutes so we can see the resolution, so we could also, as you guys were putting your amendments in there, an idea, we would like to, oh, you got it, right?
Oh, I got it from my friend.
Oh, well, that's fast.
4 feet away.
Okay, so we could, there's only a few things that, from the last meeting, and then the only thing that was missing was the, Madam Verdalio's, letter H.
Right, it was supposed to be a reference to a PFAS.
Okay,
That
you
was-
know, Commissioners,
Say your name.
my name is Jerry Tang, was at Corporate Secretary for Guam National Country Club. And if I may, I know we just started, so I don't want to ask for a recess, you guys have so many things going on. Yeah, can we just schedule after the Guam Power Authority, and those give me a chance to go over this? Resolution with Carlos and the General Manager for JCC,
And we get to move
Cody
forward.
K. So we could just be bumped back. I know it's probably the first time you ever heard this request, we'd like to be bumped back a little.
Okay.
That way we don't hold back your,
Okay, okay, yeah, because we want to make this brief, because we have our private constituents that are.
Right.
And, okay, so we're gonna bump them back 1 or 2.
that's what we can have time to read.
Maybe about 2 months or so. Or,
2
okay, all right.
Thank you,
Fine
Commissioners.
with me.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so,
We'll be be right back with you
Yeah, just
outside.
for notation, yeah,
Yeah.
Bill 179.37, Guam International Club will be bumped back.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Okay, so the next item on the agenda will be the item 5B, old business, the resolution number 2024-002, in reference to the bill number 212-37, transfer a portion of lot number 5173-U-3. I believe that's the Tamuning.
Yes, that's a 707 square meter lot over here, beside Tamuning Elementary. First off, Senator Tagli wanted, because we had two resolutions in the past, one in 2017 and 2018, affirming that the board agreed to transfer this property to the municipality of the Tamuning mayor. This, you also agreed, this board, because Tagli said, well, it's a new board, new members. She wanted to have a reaffirmation, and you said yes, and you asked me to draft a resolution, simply reaffirming your support of the previous two resolutions that were sent. And the issue with the last two is that while the Chamorro Land Trust Commission board approved them twice, for some odd reason, when the law was passed, they forgot about the 700 square meters.
That fractional lot.
That fractional lot, and in reality, that should have never been transferred to the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. It should have been GDOE, but for whatever reason, it became CLTCs. And the lot was too small, there's a building on it, a very small building, half of it belongs to the municipality of Tamuning, the other half is Chamorro Land Trust. It's not, as far as I know, it's not currently being used, but that's pretty much the reaffirming resolution just pretty much says that we transfer it to them, then they're no longer landlocked, they don't have to go through the Tamuning Elementary School grounds to get to the baseball field in the back, the basketball court and such. It all becomes part of the municipality of Tamuning. So this is just a very simple one that you asked me to draft. Just reaffirming that, and as soon as that's done, we'll send it to the speaker. I believe this is probably on the agenda for the next session that's coming up.
I see.
So if we approve it, we'll get it signed and send it on its way.
Okay, for your motion or any comment or motion for modification?
I move that we approve the resolution 2024-002, which the reaffirmation support for the land transfer to the office of the mayor of the community.
I see. For your second?
I second.
There being any opposition? If no opposition, the motion is back. Okay, Director, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, number 5, old business. Dealt Guam Power Authority, request for memorandum of understanding, lot number 7054-R9, G.
Okay, this is where I gotta call Dexter. Were you briefed on this by your groups? Oh, we skipped over, Mr. Chair, C, which is lot 7161 Gigo.
Oh,
Also
I'm sorry,
known as
I'm
the
sorry, I
raceway.
apologize.
Right.
I apologize.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dexter. Okay, number 5, old business, C, Charlie lot number 7161-R1, Jigo. Discussion regarding the request for proposal, RFP, sponsorship, Guam Racing Federation, proposed license agreement. Okay, and that's, Mr. Director.
Okay, this one here, of course, the Racing Federation is here, other racing enthusiasts. I know Attorney Miller's outside, but I'll give a brief on what he sent me. And he came up with a draft, is this in a packet?
Okay.
The real property license agreement. And in short, he gave me pretty lengthy discussions on this with added words that we have to talk a lot more in this. But part of his key points that I pulled out of the information he provided me was that he provided us with a draft licensing agreement for your review. It emphasizes the legal requirement to bid out any lease of trust land through a request for a proposal RFP. He suggested that the board should adopt policies for licensing land use, including considerations such as dividing the space for different racing events and determining pricing based on duration, such as the day, week, or rate and weekly rate. He also raised questions about the rules for using the space, including cleanliness, expectations upon turnover, and expiration of the license, as well as regulations regarding alcohol and vending. And his fourth one was safety and insurance. He highlighted that as very important issues. He discussed the potential liability risk for the trust in the event of accidents or injuries during licensed events. So he emphasized the need for the trust to enforce safety standards to mitigate risk and avoid personal liability for individual trustees. He also raises, and I guess we'll have to call him in, he's out there talking with the GICC reps, the question of whether the trust wants to limit land use to short-term licensing agreements or pursue a one-year lease through an RFP where a promoter would pay monthly rent and be reasonable for generating revenue for the leased area. And that's where he had this out for your review. Of course, you're gonna have to take time to go over this, and I can have Dexter call him in to go over it in detail with you. I spent about 4 hours with him last week, I believe it was Friday or Thursday, going through all of this. And he did look at the license from the Racing Federation, he looked at the sponsorship documents that I drafted, and he looked at the RFP.
Okay.
And this is what he came up with. But in a nutshell, all the discussions, 4 hours of discussion, and also pages of his recommendations, I broke it down into 5 specific items that I just told you, so.
So that would be the 14th page?
Yes, this agreement, this is what he came up with. It's basically a template. All we have to do is fill in the blocks and the blanks in here with whoever we decide to give a license, short-term, long-term, or as he said, it could even be by day or week or whatever. And so he says we could do a license, which will be shorter, but he recommends that we go for a year or two, that we have an RFP out on it. But it's specific questions we should ask him. This is pretty much what he says. Drafting these type of documents is what is basically what he does.
Okay. Wow.
So I can have Dexter call him in. Tell him we're on this.
So what happens, speak?
Are we able to also
Yeah.
join
Yes,
in
yeah.
the conversation
Everyone
so we
will
can
be
answer
sent.
questions?
Okay, but he better be in for this too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bring up a couple of you guys, sir? What do you think
We're on
again?
this and
So that in here-
what you're going into.
Dreams and,
There's not enough
Okay.
space.
So, I guess the one in there, these are the points I gave after what you gave me. I wrote it down, I hope I'm all correct with everything.
Okay, Bernie. In a nutshell.
Mr. Chairman, members, I think the most important issue that the board needs to consider is that Guam law is clear that leases of any length have to be bid out pursuant to an RFP. Leases of more than 5 years have to be approved by the legislature. So the workaround that has been proposed to allow racing to get going here in the short term is this document that is in front of you which is labeled a licensing agreement. I won't give you the 1,000-word lawyer dissertation on the difference between a lease and a license, other than to say, generally speaking, a license gives somebody the right to use your land for probably not less than 30 days. I'm sorry, not more than 30 days.
License.
License. If you're giving somebody the right to use your land for more than 30 days, then no matter what you call it, no matter what words we choose, you have effectively given them a lease.
Okay.
And so again, under Guam law, if it's a lease, there's the RFP process, and depending on the length of the lease, you know, there's different ways we can go.
So to get around with it, we're gonna go on the license lane,
Yes,
not the lease lane.
not the lease lane.
And we're not gonna
And-
intermingle the lease and the license.
I mean, and here's the simplest way to understand what a license is. If you buy a ticket to a ball game at Dodger Stadium or San Francisco Giants or someplace like that, if you look at the back of the ticket in small print, but the lawyers make you put it there, it says, this ticket is a license that allows you to sit in the seat that's specified on the other side for the length of the game specified on the other side. And so you get to sit in that seat and no other seat for however long that game goes on. But as soon as that game is over, you're out.
Licenses.
You gotta move on. And so, that's a license.
Okay.
As opposed to, if I'm a suite holder, and I'm upstairs with Taylor Swift, I'm renting that space for the whole season. And I just keep, every time they open the gates, I get to come in there and I get to go upstairs to my spot. And so really, that's the difference between a license and a lease. It's not to say that the commission couldn't pursue a lease for racing at this location, and if that's the commission's preference, great. But we'll have to pursue that legally through an RFP process. If we want to get some kind of racing going sooner rather than later, my recommendation is to pursue the license. Again, what the license contemplates is somebody coming in here and saying, I want to use that space for a weekend, or 5 days, or it's gonna, I need it for 2 weeks, because I gotta set up, and then we're gonna have the race, and then I gotta take it all down. But some number of days that's less than 30. And you don't, whoever rents your space, they don't get to stay there. If they rent it for 5 days, on the 5th day, they and all their stuff needs to be gone. Again, because if we're gonna let some third party use the trust's land for more than 30 days, that's a lease, we gotta have an RFP. The other thing I'm concerned about, it doesn't matter whether it's a lease or a license, is frankly, risk management on behalf of the trust and risk management on behalf of you all as individual board members. I've never been on this land. I don't I've never seen what kind of events take place there. You know, the director has told me, for example, in the past, the land has been used for drag racing. Drag racing, no matter where it goes on, is inherently dangerous. And as the owners of the land, whether you lease it to somebody or you license it to somebody, if you know that what they're going to do with your land is dangerous, you've got an obligation to mitigate that danger as much as it can realistically be accomplished. There's nothing we do that comes with zero risk, but because I'm not worried about the people who are going to race. People who race don't believe anything bad is ever going to happen, and that they're immoral. I'm worried about the spouse and the family of that racer who, when something bad happens, they're coming over here because you're the government, you've got the big checkbook, and they're going, I'm worried that they're gonna come over here and they're gonna say, hey, you knew that what your tenant was doing, what your licensee was doing was risky, and you had no business doing that. So, in the short term, as I've indicated, we have suggested use of this license agreement. We have, to the maximum extent possible, tried to write the license agreement in a way that mitigates risk to the trust, risk to you all, as much as possible. But I do, if it is your preference, that land be used for racing or whatever it is used for, if that use is inherently dangerous, then as an organization, we've got to have some policies and procedures in place to make sure that folks aren't just, you know, if you drag race down Marine Corps Drive, you're breaking the law, and if there's a big fiery crash, the government isn't at risk. But if I invite you onto my racetrack and say, sure, please race on my racetrack, I've got some amount of risk, and there ought to be some policies and procedures in place to address that risk.
Thank you, Attorney. Great, good. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Director, if you're ready, and then, yeah.
Everything Attorney Miller said is what I've gotten in my notes, but my notes are really summarized.
Yeah.
He does a better job of explaining.
Excellent, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear from the
The only
commissioners first.
shortfall I see to your comments is the time constraint there, 30 days or less. From what I understood from the Raceway people in the past meetings, it's gonna take them at least a month and a half to 2 months just to clean up the property. And a 30-day window, unless we can roll it over or break it up into 2 pieces, one for maintenance and then for the actual event.
I also think too, these were a lot of positive comments in that hearing that a license agreement is possible, it really is a bright light. In regards to the liability, and especially on our commissioners here, do know that the Racing Federation has always obtained insurance, very expensive insurance. And in the last 25 years, never has the commissioners been at risk with anything, because it really falls on the federation, but it also falls under the insurance of the sub-federation that rents the space for an event, say a bike race. So not just the Drag Racing Association, but all these member associations and federations who rent or, book the place for an event with the Guam Racing Federation both those, you're talking about insurance being covering any liabilities that may come up,
If
but,
I may ask, the fatality that occurred,
right, for one.
one, right?
Mhm.
I know that, was that upon the licensee or the trust? Because, you know, we were only here like 18 months or so.
You know, I wasn't on the board at the time, but if I could remember, I believe it fell on the
I'm just-
previous GRF, correct. And all was
I mean,
resolved
you're
before
right,
it got
there was a
to,
fatality out there.
right, there was one several years ago, but again, it didn't fall on CLTC. We put everything in place prior to all events, all riders, racers signed waivers, liability, and also, you know, we obtained some very expensive insurance to ensure that our events are fully covered and we don't ever put our government at risk.
Could the indemnification clause protect the CRTC and the board members?
Which I believe is in the license agreement that we had proposed.
Or is that an exercise that goes to nowhere?
Well, an insurance policy is as good as the financial strength of the insurer. An indemnification policy is as solid as the bank account of the person who's giving you the indemnification policy. To your question, our observation previously about the time issue, a separate a separate issue, which the director and I were emailing about yesterday, is he asked me for some comments on an RFP for a lease. And that RFP would have allowed anybody to propose any use for the property, which is fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But these folks could have proposed using it for racing. I could have proposed using it to grow tomatoes, and the director could have proposed using it to build a resort hotel. And somehow we would have had to try to sort of like compare all those things. Now, you all have a legal and a fiduciary duty to generate the best return you can for the trust. If it's your view that using this particular property for racing of various forms and fashions is the right thing for the trust and for this property, then what we ought to do is, as I suggested earlier, we can get moving quickly under the license agreement. We can do an RFP that essentially says, look, the board has designated this land for automotive, racing-related recreation. So give us an RFP for a 5-year lease, 10-year lease, whatever you'd like it to be. That really is just limited to racing. And we can certainly do that, and I think that we can get that RFP out in the near term. And if to get going sooner rather than later, it nonetheless is gonna take, more than 30 days, but several weeks, as opposed to several months, to prepare the site. Again, if it's the board's preference to allow for the site preparation over weeks, we can work that into the licensing agreement with the, knowing that that's sort of a one-time event. And then going forward, we'll be using the licensing agreement for, days or weeks at a time while we're you know, working on the RFP for, you know, perhaps a 5-year lease.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to see if Commissioner Bordado has anything to say.
You know, from, we made a decision about that, that we're gonna do an RFP.
Right, and a request for proposal.
Yes. That's where I'm.
And the last meeting we
And
had
I'm
was.
concerned about the liability as a director for CHamoru Land Trust. There's a risk.
And like the attorney was mentioning, that we may choose to do drag strip and motocross, and you may choose to plant tomatoes, and you may choose to do other things, and you're right. The primary mission of the CHamoru Land Trust is for agriculture and residential. So this is like a sideline activity that we're trying to accommodate the island. If some use the drag, the drip, and the motocross. So we're trying to bifurcate our approach here. And it's a good thing that you mentioned about tomatoes, because we could plant tomatoes right there in the corner of the drift line and do other things. But that being said, I don't want to belabor this. If you have any other suggestion, I really highly recommend that we get your group or your attorney to meet with our attorney, and we'll iron out the final, because we have constituents here from the residential and agriculture, but we like to give you the floor to say, because I believe your request is to get the 2-year license.
Yes.
And it's good that Attorney Miller is here to tell us that, to share with us that anything over 30 days from the license to the lease lane, we're gonna be.
At some number of weeks, no matter what we call it, it's a lease, and the law requires the RFP.
And I thank you for sharing that with us, because we had that issue before for the last maybe 25 years that we've had this Guam Racing Federation since back in 1998, right? So 1998 to today, present, that's about 25 years. So we've been here almost 30 years. And the objective for that particular 1 million square meter property, 250 acres, was to have a drift drag motocross and a Grand Prix. And the target was to cut the property down from 250 to 550 elevation to 520. So you have about maybe 40, 50 feet to slice to get the drift and drag.
Right, and it's been 25 years of really developing it into a racing facility, and not just for motorized sports, but for non-motorized sports, runners, mountain bikers.
Understand, yeah.
Just tons of sports that I've expressed in previous meetings. So all we would ask is if we do go the RFP route, if this license agreement is, not amenable to the board, or it needs to go back for some revisions, all we ask is if we go the RFP route, that we make it very specific, just as Mr. Miller said, we make it specific to raceway management, to a group that knows how to manage the raceway, because it is a very, it does require technical knowledge, expertise, and experience. And if you don't include raceway specific, then of course you're just gonna have bidders come out and do the one thing that CLTC does not want to happen to our land.
Well, it's good that we have Mr.
I agree.
William and Director Bird, so just to save time and
Sure.
productivity for the day,
Thank you.
I recommend that you guys meet again.
Sure.
Go ahead,
Attorney Miller,
Yes, sir.
if we make it an open RFP, does it minimize our exposure to the risk?
Tell me what you mean, sir, by open RFP.
Not make it race specific, where any and all can come in and put in an interest or a bid for the RFP. Meaning, you could come in and grow tomatoes, he can come in and put a bid in so that he can build his luxury hotel, and the raceway can come in and say, I'll bid on raceway management. Versus we make it a specific RFP for the raceway. Because that's what I sort of got from what you said earlier, that if I have a raceway, I'll give you guys a license to use it, that increases our risk.
we can't make the RFP so specific that realistically the only people who are gonna give us a proposal is the raceway. But we can certainly, I think it's fair and equitable to say, here's our land, and we're not changing the condition of the land. We invite
Any and all.
the public to give us a proposal, but understand you don't get to change the land. And then we'll see, who comes in the door. From a risk management point of view, my recommendation to the board, and a topic we're gonna have to meet and discuss with these folks, in more detail, is it's less about how much insurance you have and more about what are gonna be the rules of racing. I'm just making up an example here. One could envision that somebody might think it's a good idea to just invite anybody off the street. We're gonna have open drag racing. Come on down, 6 o'clock, give me $50, sign up, sign this release form, where you swear you're not gonna sue anybody for anything, and just, whatever car you got, just, we'll let you run down the track and you can see how fast you are. That is about the highest risk event you could ever have.
Which doesn't happen, by the way. It's, the
Yeah,
drag
yeah.
association has its rules.
And so what we need to understand from these folks is really what rules and regulations do they already have in place? Do you all think those rules and regulations are the appropriate rules and regulations, so that we put into the license agreement, we put into the lease agreement, that whether it's these folks who are responsible for the race, or their sublessees are responsible for the race, whatever race is happening, it's following the appropriate rules, and if there is a significant injury or a death, but everybody did follow the rules that we all thought were, fair and reasonable, and are the kind of rules that are used around the world for whatever kind of racing, then unfortunately we all have to be sad that there was a significant injury, but the risk that you all are gonna get sued becomes very small.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so
sir.
we'll leave it to you to speak with the,
Understood,
with
Mr. Chairman, members,
council and see if we have middle ground where we can,
I think ultimately, these folks are gonna have to convince you all that the rules they're willing to put in place for the various kinds of racing are good enough.
but before they do that, they have to go through you.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So, last word.
I think we've had 40 years of racing and one casualty, and I think safety is very, very high a priority for the race federation. And as Jennifer mentioned, there's a lot of rules and regulations that have to be followed, as well as safety inspections of the vehicles, technical inspections have to be done. So we're pretty sure we can meet your requirements on the safety side, and we have the insurance from a highly ranked insurance company that's been doing business on the law for many years. And it protects, everybody involved, as well as the commissioners.
Great. Yeah, we just need to get that written into the documentation.
No, my only concern is that there are several examples of license agreements that are longer than 30 days that already exist in the Chamorro Land Trust. So just curious, and for things other than race, other than agricultural or residential. So you know, that's, one of my concerns is, I don't know if that's a new regulation or it's just enforcing an old regulation. But there's, you know, other examples of those types of things.
Mr. Chairman, members, if I can respond to that, as we started out today's meeting, there are continuing questions about what the parameters are for the operation of the trust and how you all as board members and trustees, what you can do, what you can't do, for how long people can do various things. The difference between a lease and a license and it is clearly one of those topics, but what is clear is that Guam law says if the government is going to give somebody a lease, then that has to be done pursuant to an RFP. Again, I don't think there's nowhere where it's written down that says licenses are 30 days or less and leases are automatically 31 days or more. There is some leeway for interpretation here, so I think we do have the opportunity to work with these folks on the site preparation issue. But in the judicial system, they don't really care what you label an agreement. If somebody sues us and says, that's a lease and you didn't hand it out pursuant to an RFP, we can call it whatever we want to. But if the judge says, no, that's a lease and you really should have, or the legislature calls us up and says, that's a lease.
Statute overruled.
Statute
I
rules.
think there's a law in the books that authorizes an RFP for this property specific to racing. Isn't that?
Yes,
that's
there,
still-
there is, and that's what obligates us to the entire 250 acres that's up there. If we were to change that, and that's where we probably have to go back, sit together and go over the various sections of law. But you're correct, there is one that allows us specifically to use it for that. If we go outside of that, and I'm assuming that's why the RFP was written up the way it was, because if we were to go outside of that, that requirement, if we were to partial the property into sections, then that would break away from that. The current law requires us to use the entire portion of that lot for this, for racing. But it's up to the board to make a decision whether or not to continue with that. So, yeah,
We'd be
that
happy to
would
have-
come out in a sit down, because there are, of course, some flexibility here, but I know what Attorney Miller is saying is that, in general, of course, I threw all this on his lap, he's got an island. And he's gone through quite a bit with us, not just for here, but also through the Ancestral Lands Board and many other big issues there too. So hopefully we can get this thing moving forward. If that were the case, it seems like there's an agreement that we can bring down the liability of the commission. That's what the Commissioner Berdallo has, is our liability in this area. And of course, I believe all the commissioners have that issue. We can work something out there, and I guess we just have to sit down now in a work session between us and get it done.
We're ready to do that anytime. Let us know. Happy to do that.
So you guys can make contact, and thank you so much. We're moving forward. Okay. Item number 5, old business.
Are we going back to GICC?
Yes, we're here, so we just want to brief you. Or you want to take
It's
a
up to you.
recess? Or,
Oh, GPA is ready to go.
yes.
If you want,
we want to wrap them up so they can leave.
okay, so we're back to GICC.
Yeah, 17937, real brief. So they reviewed the proposed resolution, so. Okay, gentlemen, just for the record. So we're just going to wrap this up on the resolution,
Again,
on H, resolution H, but go ahead.
again, Mr. Chair, Mr. Birch, my name is Carlos Camacho.
I'm Jerry Tang, and thank you for the short recess for us so that we can review it. And I want to start off with saying that I want to thank the commissioners and the commissioner director, and of course Attorney General, legal counsel, Attorney Miller. we've been at this process for a while, and I think that Chamorro Land Trust are very hard negotiators, but very fair, and and we share that same goal, always trying to find what we could do, what's best for the constituents. And I also like to point out that, rightfully so, I think the legislature, the elected body, our governor, they give a lot of deference to the resolutions that come from the Chamorro Land Trust. So it's because of those, it's because of those reality that I like to kind of talk about the resolution, because there's certain things in the resolution that I'm afraid that I'm not sure they're possible, or they're just a little vague. And there's also improvements that we like to propose. One, I spoke with Yohei outside, and I'm very happy to state that, before when we talked about sharing the building, the clubhouse, and then of course Attorney Miller talked about it's not really a good idea to have office on top of the lithium batteries. So we're, the JCC is fine with giving the entire building of the clubhouse to dedicated use for Chamorro Land Trust. So there's no sharing. That would mean that JCC will have to think of a different storage, different building plan for the storage, for the battery storage. And then, so we're very happy about that, and I think that addresses some of that concern. And then, the other concern that we have, again, is because when a resolution comes from this body, what we're concerned about is that so much weight with the legislature, because we would ultimately would have to have the lease, we have to, the bill will have to say, hey, we're going to make these changes to the lease agreement, and then so we want to make sure that it's possible, that some of these resolution items are possible. And one of them that I was concerned about, that we were concerned about, was the surety requirement. This is an insurance policy that we would have to try to obtain that would guarantee the removal of the solar components and of the lease agreement. We're not, as we sit over here right now, we're not 100% sure that that policy can be purchased on Guam. It's such a new, like as Attorney Miller mentioned, solar farm has been around for a while, but in terms of on Guam, it's a fairly new business, and it's also fairly new with respect to batteries. So and if it's put in there as it's written, what we're worried about is the legislators would just say, it's a deal or no deal type of situation. So, and then finally, there's also, I think the provision about compliance with all the EPA, those type of regulations, I don't think that goes far enough. I think that one of the concerns that we went over is, again, a lot of these EPA rules and stuff like that for this industry, they may not have the exact protections that we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
So, and in our discussions with some of our elected leaders, one thing that everybody was very focused about was these chemicals called PFAS. And also we want to make sure that they don't end up in, not only are they removed, but they don't end up in our landfill. So I feel like one of the things that to improve this resolution, and one thing that we just put it in there was that hey, when we amend the lease, it should be part of the amended lease, right? That if
Do you have Jerry, don't worry, put notes on it. Do you have the recommended amendment?
yes, I want to explain the motivation for those changes, and they're minor changes, and our inspiration for those is really trying to make sure that we have the resolution coming from this body that gives us the flexibility to, when we have public hearings, and we could flesh out some of the remaining issues. So So for example, on the surety item, I mean, there's a lot of things that are, there's different things that there's going to be a continued communications between the land trust and our senators, and also between us and our, the senators. What's that, for example, things that could be explored would be self-insurance, right? Or set aside some type of set amount of money, protect an account or stuff like that, or, other changes we can make to the lease, what's that, make sure there's, or, like put a liquidated damages provision in there regarding if we don't remove the panels or the components within a certain amount of time, what's that, so. But I just want to preserve that ability, because what's that, again, what's that, if it's in the resolution, right? What's that, my concern is that because of the deference, and rightfully so, the deference that our legislative body gives to the opinions of the commissioners, of the administrative director, that it might reduce further discussions on that. So if I may, I made some minor changes. I'm just, to recommendations, that I think that will give us that flexibility, while also preserving the most important things that are, the items that are most important to the land trust, such as, the full dedication of the clubhouse to exclusive Chamorro land trust use, and then and also the additional protection regarding PFAS, chemicals, and also not putting these things in a landfill,
Right,
and recycle.
and that was an objective that we wanted, is to make sure that the PFAS, the batteries, at the end of the contract, and we were not gonna continue using it for solar, we want the entire place clean and remove the PFAS, remove the
Right.
batteries.
Right.
I think we should include a fail-safe mechanism that if the batteries and the PFAS panels are not removed, that we should put a clause in it that,
Right.
for example, we're not gonna clean this battery room and the contract is
Yeah.
due today, then maybe some sort of a monetary fine that,
Right.
because see, we have a lot of properties that have waste tires. And what happens is that the tires burn. And that's still an ongoing litigation now. One whole area, maybe about 5,000 tires burn, and it's right on top of the aquifer. So what happens to that contract? The contract is done, but land trust is left with the used tires. So learning from that lesson learned, we don't want the PFAS and the batteries to be in the building after the contract. Let's say it ends today in February, so every month we're losing revenue for Chamorro Land Trust. And that's that cushion that we wanna put in this resolution.
Yeah, I think what's that, we could definitely put, those items into the amended lease, and regarding some type of liquidated damages,
Right.
which is, what's that, but I think that's something that I hope to, what's that, we'll need some time to flesh that out. I think that, so if I may just read, a couple of our suggestions regarding the actual language of the resolution, just real
So
briefly.
if you have it in writing, or you can verbally say.
Yes, I think my chicken scratch, I don't know anyone to read it, let me just read it. What's that, so regarding section 2, subsection A, the bulk of it, our change is just that regarding because we're going to dedicate the whole building, we have to take a look at where we're going to put the battery. So we like to have the flexibility of regarding the maintenance and storage building. We like to keep it in the negotiable
And then put the
portion. So
batteries there.
if I could just, so instead of, as written, it would be subsection A, the designation of approximately 5 hectares of lot number 1022-12, multiple municipality of Dededo, surrounding the area of the GICC clubhouse and the maintenance storage building, along with its surrounding property of 1 acre for the use of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, is open to negotiation. However, the GICC clubhouse, along with the surrounding property of at least 5 acres, shall be exclusively designated for the use of CLTC. This designation aims to significantly reduce rental costs of the CLTC, the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission, and the Department of Land Management by providing dedicated facilities. By housing these dedicated facilities, the need for external office spaces, such as the ITC building, will be minimized. So, the only thing that our change did was to move the maintenance storage facility into the open negotiation. Because what's that now, we have to talk to our team and see, okay, we're not gonna put the battery, you know, in the basement of the building. Well, so, but what's that, we will, you know, continue that dialogue in good faith with you, the commissioners, and, and our legislators. And then, the second item that we hope the commissioners will consider is currently, section B, under section 2, paragraph B, it says the lessee shall be required to refurbish and reconfigure the GICC clubhouse to accommodate office space for the CLTC, GLLC, and DLM. So that's the current language. Now, our concern is that it's very, very open-ended, because we don't have any idea what are the renovations in mind, and it's so open-ended that it could be $10,000 or $5 million. I mean, you know, we just don't know. And but we're interested in continuing that discussion. So the language I know, you know, we're recommending is that to replace that with the lessee shall cooperate with CLTC with respect to the reconfiguration of the GICC clubhouse to accommodate office space for CLTC, GALC, and DLM. Admittedly, you know, our language is also very vague, but I think we're going to have the opportunity to continue this discussion, during the public hearing phase, with our legislators. I understand where, of course, you know, I could appreciate what the goal is to have a working office space, and help the CLTC, Guam Ancestral Lands Commission, and Department of Land Management to save on, you know, rent. But just as written, it's just we have no idea to what that amount's going to be, and so, and finally, paragraph C, it's regarding the surety bond. Again, we're just not sure there's any insurance company that provides that type of bonding, because this is such a new industry for Guam. And I think even Attorney Miller, I think you said you were from Florida. Arizona. Okay, so maybe Arizona has a lot of solar panels. And then I don't know if it's the same issue that they share with Florida, but you know, occasionally they have Florida, yeah. So so for example, in certain states, they won't insure solar panels. You know, from particular risks, right? Like hail, I don't think on Guam do you get insurance for solar panels like installing your house, you know, from typhoon. It's just, you know. So what we recommend is that, and we'll be willing to commit to, is that that we will remove the solar components, and we will, you know, this could be added to the lease agreement, right? That they will be recycled. They won't go in the landfill. And then So, and also additionally, because Section H, you know, under Section H, there's a lot of Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, International Building Code. They may or may not have the particular protections that we're looking, you know, that Guam needs. So I think the best way is to say, you know what, just commit to not putting this in the landfill. Commit that these panels are going to be PFAS free, what's that, so the language that that we are proposing for C is, all components of the solar panel used for the solar farm must be free of per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS. Additionally, lessee shall be required to remove the components associated with the solar farm at the end of the lease term. The removed components shall be recycled and shall not be disposed of in Guam's landfill. So I think that is a more direct, more, I mean, you know, it really just talks about what.
Remove it entirely.
Yes, and the industry now has moved to the industry now is, it's moving towards that direction where these components are recycled because of their intrinsic value. Like, for example, lithium, right? When we talked about lithium, now it really makes sense to recycle lithium versus disposing of it because of the cost of lithium. And with the and moving forward, I think it's only going to get more expensive as you know, EVs, electric vehicles, become more widely adopted. And so, just recently, so whether this provision was in there or not, the industry itself is moving towards recycling all these components.
Okay, and if it was not removed, can we, I mean.
Yes, I think that's something that,
The contractor doesn't run away or?
sure, so typically how contractually we handle that kind of stuff is we would put in some type of liquidated damages provision, right? Or some type of penalty, right? For like, hey, you know what, if you guys didn't remove this, you know, within 3 months or 4 months of the end of the lease term, you're gonna get a monthly penalty of so much, right? So so example of that would be, you could word it that, you know, if lessee fails to remove the solar components, you know, within 3 months of the end of the lease term, lessee will pay the liquidated damages per month in the amount of, you know, like.
So the monthly rental generally today, right, is about 25,000 per month. And let's say 30 years from now, and if we accelerated 5 to 8%. So let's say that today is the 30th year.
Right.
And we don't remove, so if we don't move forward to generate revenue for that property, then we're basically losing 25K per month.
Okay.
So if we do 25 divided by 30, that would be about $1,000 a day.
Right.
So, but again, because you know, our main objective is to administer
Right.
agriculture and
Right.
Residential, right? So, I guess, how many hours in the day, sir? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members, I just wanted to comment for everybody's benefit that the issues the country club folks have raised, I certainly think we can lawyer around those. I understand your concern about removing the panels.
Right.
At the end of the lease, they're gonna be removing panels over the entire term of the lease. That things break for whatever reason, that on these projects, they're always swapping out panels. So I think certainly we can come up with some lease language to address all the concerns that have been raised here. The one, I guess the one request I would make of frankly both the commission and the country club folks is on the topic of renovation costs. Essentially, that's gonna come down to, they're willing to pay, I'm making this up, they're willing to give the commission as much as $50,000 to renovate the space. And the commission's gonna say, but we need $100,000. So, what, on both sides, on both the commission side and on the country club side, pretty quickly, that conversation has to get down to a place where we're talking about, look, if we're gonna do this deal, we need this much money to build the space out, and they need to be at a place where they says, we should, either yes, we can give you that amount of money, or no, we'll have to do, you know, something else. So that, on that topic, pretty quickly, the conversation has to get down to, we'll give you, you know, so much a square meter and build whatever you wanna build. And then the commission's, square foot, or the commission's gonna have to decide, yeah, we can build the space we wanna be in
Yes,
at that price, or we can't.
Yes, because right now the building is situated as a country club. Our intended use will be for office space. So yes, there's going to be that friction. And I like your idea that we propose an amount per square foot for renovation. Hopefully they will also include modifications to the electrical and plumbing.
Position to respond to that.
Well, we're gonna do it,
Because
you know. we're gonna do
in
it
a
in
previous
sessions.
meeting, they sort of hinted they were gonna give us free power.
I think Commissioner Greer was thinking of running a really long extension cord on the solar panel, and I'm okay with that.
But that being said, so we can, because you know, we've got constituents behind us, right? So if you have your listing there, you want, then integrate with our attorney, and then, you know,
Well, what we were asking, we wrote up the amendments.
mhm.
Can this amendment be adopted to what you guys want to adopt, so we don't have to wait another 30 days?
So
Well,
they can
you
review-
wanted to remove the surety bond,
And replace, we haven't done the language for that.
with other language for that, some kind of a guarantor.
I think what's that,
I mean, you know, like, because what we've experienced with our commercial leases is that because we haven't, and many of them had any guarantors on it, or guarantees on it, that, many times that a corporation will dissolve itself, and then we're left holding the bag, because there is no guarantee. That's what the surety bond is. I mean, if you have one person willing to take all the responsibility for that, then of course but I don't know which one single person would agree to that.
Right.
That's why the insurance type thing, or else you put a bond up or something that's held somewhere, that just in case some of these issues aren't, you know, met, then
yes,
would you agree to something like that?
I think what's that, as long as the language allows us to find a solution that Toronto Land Trust is comfortable with. What's that, what I mean by that is, what's that, you could even put the surety bond requirement and say, or another form of assurance that Toronto Land Trust accepts. You know, in the event that that bond is just not available to the insurance company on Guam.
A surety bond or
Right.
other type
So-
of insurance?
So it could be, as long as we could keep that dialogue going, right, but without building up the resolution. What I mean by that is, for example, what's that, it could be, I mentioned briefly, some type of self-insurance. What's that, you know, and that would be, how that would work is we would set aside a certain amount of money in a protected fund, right, protected account that's dedicated for that purpose to ensure that the removal of those components. What's that, a reserve, basically like a reserve, what's that, but one of the things that we're hoping to do today is to move the process forward, and I just, you know, because it's, we don't wanna blow all the deadlines for GPA. And what's that, and there is going to be a follow-up process, you know, with, and we'll continue to work closely with you and as we move forward.
Yes, so maybe we can hear a motion from our commissioners to amend or adopt your proposal into, after review?
I think we would need legal's review, it could be conditional upon approval by legal counsel.
Upon approval with legal
I
counsel.
would
So
trust that.
if I may then, can I submit my chicken scratch to Attorney Miller?
Well, I
Just
think
for the record, right, yeah, what I read into the record.
really what needs to happen is the staff has put forward a proposal. The commission is free to amend the staff proposal as you all see fit, and so whatever amendments, stipulations, changes, you all want to, one of you wants to propose, somebody's willing to second it, we'll vote on those amendments, and then staff will amend the formal documentation in accordance with whatever the final resolution is, but it's really for the board to decide exactly what the parameters of the resolution are.
Attorney Miller, is there a process that I'm supposed to follow, like, because I read a bunch of things in the record, but if I want to actually turn my chicken scratch over, what's that, as part of the public record, what's that, is there a way, formal way?
If you want, if one of the board members wants to use your notes to propose an amendment.
Oh, it doesn't have to be, but I
That's
mean.
fine by me.
I don't know about chain of custody issues, I mean, do I just?
Okay.
You can copy it.
Yeah. And let's,
Nobody turned it.
Okay.
can we make a phone call? Yeah, attorney and director and the members. I guess with the item B that you were mentioning, based on the refurbishment or the reconfiguration of the GICC clubhouse, I think this is what you guys are saying, right? Like the attorney was saying, it may cost $50. It may cost $5 million, right? Considering the age of the building, and we've gone to the building from the top floor, the second and third, and we've looked around the building, and of course I guess the proper and accurate ways to have a professional assessment engineer, do an assessment on the building, and then we can come up with a figure. But the point is that it's negotiable, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's for B. And we go to C, Charlie, the lessee shall require a surety bond. So I guess our attorney is more familiar with a lot of, miles and miles of solar farm. Here we only have 2, or I think 3, right? 3 solar farms. So I'm not sure if, I guess the surety bond here is to ensure that the place is cleaned up at the end of the contract. And if the mechanism to ensure that it's a fail-safe mechanism to ensure that all the, especially batteries, thank you for explaining about the batteries, because we wanted to put it, or they wanted to put it on the first basement, and we're saying, fine, as long as we have the second, the third, and the roof. We wanted the roof for communication purposes, so now that our attorney was saying, I don't think we want to put a battery in a confined space, and the place is confined. There's only like 2 doors, so right, that would fall under confined space. It's almost underground, it's almost like the bunker at Naval Magazine. It's basically a bunker. And then if you're saying that you want to make sure that those batteries that are stored on the property is removed, right?
Right.
If it's in the maintenance building, we just want it removed after the contract.
Right.
Mr. Tan,
Yes.
currently you haven't talked to the building repeater tenants, right?
Oh, let me ask Mr. Yohei about that. What's on the ceiling of the clubhouse? Are there any antennas or any other equipment up there?
Yes, there's some antennas from GTA and, no Docomo, but GTA and ITV.
For GTA and okay, so I think
So
there's 3 or 4.
who would oversee that in the event that we turn the clubhouse over to us?
Those are very good questions, Commissioner, and that's the other thing that really kind of highlights that we can't address everything within
Yes.
the resolution, because there's just so many things. What's that, who's going to insure the building now that the tenant, GIC is completely out? What's that, how to implement that transfer of use, how to, legally designate that? I think, we need to continue our dialogue with each other, but I think that's that's a discussion that increasingly that the AG's office to Attorney Miller that would be involved with, to work out the nitty gritty. Okay? But the broad strokes, what I really want to impress upon the Tomorrow Land Trust Commissioners and Administrative Director is that we want to our motivation is to make this happen. And what's that, and we don't, because of because of the deference that our legislative body gives to this, to the decisions of this board, what's that, rightfully so, what's that, we want to make sure that anything that's in the resolution is actually doable. So what's that, so which is why, again, with respect to the surety bond, we're just not 100% sure that that is available anymore. And with respect to the refurbishment, renovation of the clubhouse, it's just really vague at this point. We just don't know what number. I don't think Bank Trust itself really knows, or what they have in mind, right? What's that? Whether it's going to be a big open room, I don't know what just a bunch of cubicles, or what's that, or what really we're talking about. So we're gonna have. So what we're hoping to do is have those types of conversations, not hold up the resolution, because that would just take so long.
So how would you word the resolution, the amendment?
The amendment was the one that I read into earlier, and also the chicken scratch, I call it chicken scratch, that they're making copies of right now. It's I would say they're it seemed lengthy, but really a lot of it is just from the existing resolution, such as again, regarding the storage and maintenance shed. What's that? We just moved that category into the negotiation category instead of this is a deal breaker type of situation, because we need to talk about that. Also, the refurbishment. Instead of saying shall refurbish, I just replaced it to cooperate, just because again, we don't want it to be a deal killer when no one really knows what we're talking about here in terms of.
And Commissioner, to answer, is that the building has its own power meter and water meter. So it's already,
It's master meter or stamp?
that's not part of the understanding. Yeah.
Right.
Do you understand what you're saying? So, from the White House.
And
Commissioner, exactly.
normally for those antennas, GTA, because it's in some asset, those they get some benefit. So if probably they can provide, we don't know what the negotiation would be and the new tenant would be. They ran in some cases in my other assets,
That's where we do the workaround.
yeah, and they give the sell
Because
benefit to the,
if the lease that is currently in effect says that they will pay the country club for use of that,
That's right.
they can insist, even after you give us control of the building, that they will continue, because the lease was made between country club and them.
we can clarify all that.
Yeah, I think that's something.
That's something we work on.
Right. Something we're
and clean up.
Right. I think at a minimum, usually these deals, what's that thing, at least the ones I'm familiar with, right? You get like so many cell phones and
Cell phone
free
service.
or something like that. Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what all your employees are gonna get, but you never know what you guys negotiate.
Director Birch,
Yes.
the suggestions that Attorney and Jerry and
Yeah, I know that there's other ways, like for the surety bond and stuff, I know there are other ways to provide for some kind of guarantee in the end that we could work out. First, I'm gonna have to decipher the chicken scratch idea, to make sure that we got this, I guess it's something that Attorney Miller's gonna have to go over, and I'll go over too. So, you don't know this?
No,
Okay, so,
but, Mr. Chairman, members, it's, the content of the resolution is up to you all. Again, you have the staff recommendation for the content of the resolution. You have a proposal here for some amendments to the resolution. If it's your pleasure to want to move the resolution forward today, we'll need a motion and a second to move the resolution, and to the extent somebody wants to propose amendments to the resolution, again, amendments would require a motion and a second to amend specific pieces and parts of the resolution.
There's an option to give us time to go over this too, is that rather than adjourning the meeting today, you could recess, and then we'll start up again a week from today, and we'll be able to go through this and see how it works into what we have here already.
Yeah,
So that gives us time to go over it, because we just received this, so it's
And we can still make a motion to accept the resolution, or
yeah.
after?
no, you just stamped that you received it already,
That
but
line.
to accept it, you gotta give us a little time to digest this too.
Mr. Chairman, what the director is suggesting is that this particular topic be tabled
Okay.
for the moment, and that, I think, to put words into his mouth, what he's suggesting is that you direct staff to schedule another meeting in, the next week,
Okay, yes.
for the specific purpose of, and the only purpose of voting on a revised resolution for the country club lease.
Okay.
Yes, and the way to get around the open government law is to not adjourn the meeting, but to recess it, so we have that opportunity.
And we can do that in 7 working days or 5 working days? Is it working days or calendar days?
It's up to us.
Today is Thursday,
All right.
Friday's tomorrow, Attorney Miller, what do
So,
You have the,
Open
I just need to worry about me, you're the one with a short staff.
Yeah, well, I'll be
so,
working on this myself
and
pretty
the
much.
timeline on, because I understand that everybody here is working based on deadlines, so I guess if the resolution is.
You want it by Thursday of next week, we get, what is Thursday? There's no holidays
Friday,
between now and
I mean
then.
Thursday.
Monday's a holiday.
Yeah,
Monday's a
Thursday.
holiday.
If I can comment, I saw you guys did many recess like from other meetings.
Right, from the.
And I think you guys gonna meet your open government law,
Yeah,
so you have to, we'll follow, once it's recessed, we'll follow when you guys will announce it.
Okay, good.
Based on your, open government law guidelines.
We're okay,
well,
okay.
I'm inclined to do a recess.
On the
To
schedule.
meet,
Right, on this.
to meet the open government law statute.
That's right.
And then we finalize this resolution.
Fine, yes.
Yeah, because if we recess, then, yeah, we got a lot of flexibility in open government law.
Okay,
Or else we could call a special meeting and we go through the process of advertising. That'll mean that we'll be back here in about a week and a half to 2 weeks. Special meetings are specifically just for one topic only.
and we can still motion to take action?
On that, during that meeting,
All right,
yes.
Okay, so good.
Except that we won't be discussing any other issue, only a single issue for special meeting.
I see for special meeting. Now, the
Yes.
adjournment for a succession meeting, we can discuss other.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, whatever we don't finish today, and because we have a long,
Right, I really want to get to the
Agenda.
constituents, so.
yes, we may have to adjourn some of this because, or table some of these till that, so that's why I said we go into recess, we'll be able to continue discussion as you just table it for now and get back to it like what we did earlier,
Okay,
where it was, tabled and pushed back.
okay. Yeah, just in a nutshell, this
Okay.
resolution, right, on item B, this is gonna save us like $10,000 per month on this rental, $50,000 per month at land management, and I believe, Mr.
About
Director.
3,000 for GLC.
3,000. So that's about 50, 60, about 65, 70,000. That's about almost 0.7 million
Wow.
per annum. So, good, so far we're getting in the right direction. Okay, so do I hear a motion?
We'll need a motion to table.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair. Pertaining to resolution number 2024-001, I move that we table this in a recess for this specific action.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, there being no.
Yeah.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, thank you. So now we move on to the next, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Director.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
we're
Chair-
going to the
Chairman.
next item, all this is, Guam Power Authority. Request for
GPA
MOU.
is here today.
They're here today?
Yes, they
GPA?
can. And where's Dexter? Dexter knows about this going on.
Okay.
Anyway, you got this GPA, there's Dexter was on to the GPA issue. Okay. And this is continuing something past,
when they recessed it.
that we had. I believe this is for the in-kind services from GPA. And the use of their, property to stage their equipment for a short while, maybe a couple of years, 3 years.
Okay. All right, so may we have the
I guess.
representative from GPA or?
Let's wait for the.
No, GPA? Yes. I think at the last meeting, we kind of already agreed to move forward on this. I guess one of the biggest decisions is going to be, of course, agreeing on the MOU and the location for the in-kind services to be placed.
Do we need
So,
to,
I was not part of the negotiations, there's a lot of material on the table we've been dealing with. So it was Joey Cruz, but he, Dexter on the issue. So Dexter will speak on that behalf, and of course GPA is here to fill us in on the rest.
Okay, then.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
We have representatives from Guam Power Authority today with regard to the proposed memorandum of agreement for lot number 7054-R9, Municipality of Vigo, for a period of 2 years. So please go ahead.
Okay, I'll start. Hi, good morning again, or good afternoon, excuse me, it's a long day. I'm sure for you too. So again, my name is Tracy Montiaco. I'm the Assistant General Manager of Administration, now acting GM of GPA. And with us, we have Antonio Luisato is here. He's our GIS supervisor, and we have Marianne Wolashek. She's our attorney.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be here today and to hear our matter. Is Dexter going to give a report, Mr. Birch, or?
I'm not sure, Joey Cruz, should we have a report here?
We don't have a report, it's just the memorandum of agreement has been submitted to our legal counsel for review. There was,
You check it over?
it's on Joey's head
It's on Joey's desk?
it's on the packet of the commissioners for review.
Okay, is Pierce available to give us some,
Yes, sir, he's on.
Oh, he's on.
He's up on the map.
Roger that, okay, good. Okay,
So, just to recap, when we were here last time and we introduced this matter before the board, we did say that we are interested, GPA is interested to do exactly what Mr. Birch said, to stage our equipment on that lot for 3 years. This equipment will not be operating as a power plant. We just need to stage these pieces of equipment temporarily. In our proposed terms, and it was not an MOU, we did say that whatever that value is, when I have the authority up to $190,000 for those 3 years, we'll be happy to provide any in-kind services. Our staff, including JR, who was our main POC, worked with the CLTC staff, which they were great, they identified initially 5 lots. They understand now that there is 6 possible lots. GPA is willing to, to negotiate those lots, which lots you would like. We feel that that can come, that does not need to be nominated at this time, because really it's up to CLTC to decide which lots they want to pursue for the improvements. So at this point, I asked Ms. Wilczek to be here. She was just handed, just as we were waiting, a draft copy of the MOU. So I have not had a chance to discuss this with her, and she'll be able to discuss what any issues she might have.
Before you go in,
I know you have to go over the assignment. That's fair.
we get to designate where we're gonna use the in-kind services, correct?
That is correct.
Okay? So if I wanted the in-kind services to be done in Aliso, we would proceed to,
How we look at this is, we will have a credit, right, for the MOU. And so we had a very good discussion with the CLTC staff. And, the work that JR has done for the staff at this point was really just a desktop audit.
to be more specific, we have, the Chamorro Land Trust has a housing development down in Pagacho, in Agate. And I would like to use part of those in-kind services to be applied down there. I don't want to be restricted to just up north.
It is, again, we're open to that. We performed a desktop audit, including the estimated costs to do this, just based on JR's maps. It would really depend on going down and ensuring that the easements are clear, to find out if there are any surveys that need to be done, any cultural studies, any environmental studies. So we're here for the CLTC, and those discussions should be.
That Pagacho property has been in existence for at least 20 years. So if we have funds available, I would like to have the funds directed to the Pagacho estates down in Agate, because we have leases there already, and we need to bring in infrastructure, at least electricity there. So just as long as we're open-ended as to where we can apply the in-kind services.
One of the concerns that GPA brought up during our last meeting with staff is that GPA would want to ensure that whatever the service we are bringing, line extension, is used. So there is a cost to maintain service, right, these lines once we pick them up. And so it would really truly be a waste if those lines are not utilized. So again, it's really up to the. Jared, did you have anything to add as far as the use?
So, specific to that area in Agate, track 319, we looked at some data. We provided CLTC our GIS layers of existing utilities. And we did a cursory review and did an estimate based on the sites. However, we did not look at any other stuff such as rivers, like Ms. Tracy said. We didn't look at anything else, just a tabletop cursory review. So we have some numbers again, but it's subject to looking at everything. Is it open? Is the easement defined? Are there any cultural or other constraints, right? So we need to determine that before we make a true assessment of track 319 Pagacho area. We can also piecemeal, right? So if we have a portion of Pagacho done, and then we move to the next low hanging fruit, we can do that as well. It doesn't subject us to one particular site.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Right.
Okay, so
we can piecemeal it.
what you're talking about then, Commissioner, is having it open-ended. As GPA needs a site for staging, we could agree to that. And
Yes.
the other part is, to use it open-ended on where the services will be applied. But of course, GPA is gonna say this is a fixed amount, 190,000 or so, and as we eat away at that, that amount depreciates,
I
right?
thought it was 210.
No, I thought we cleared that up.
I used to go negotiating with you guys. I remember it's 190, so I agree. And that's pretty much the bottom line, because they're times under the essence, I understand, for GTA, is what I'm told. and before they move to Plan B, but Plan A is us. We have this opportunity to close this deal if we can, and then maybe later, we can come up with where we want to stage this, and it's up to the board to make that decision.
As long as open-ended piecemeal.
And that way, we can just have a credit with GPA for services, right, event services.
And I'm sorry for interrupting, your attorney can give her.
Well, I guess it could be attorney to attorney now, once we get to that point.
I've looked at your MOA, the memorandum of agreement, and it's mostly okay, not objectionable. There's some things that we need to fill in, some blanks to fill in. We can do what you're asking for.
I have a question, if I may. On this kind of configuration, right? This is a GIS tabletop.
Yes, sir.
And on what I was analyzing is that per span, you guys can estimate per span.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So take for example, about CHamoru 319, or this is the property right across the power plant in Delhi, which is 166 lots. So this was subdivided but not mapped. So my question is that, does your GIS require that the map be recorded in land management and inserted interface with the program you have? Or can we do a tabletop and then do a preliminary
So we
assessment?
can, yes, sir, we can do anything with the GIS, but that's another constraint, right? Is the map certified? Is the map
Okay.
a registered land survey map in land management?
So
It
we
will
can,
not be a master plan where it's not defined, where the easements aren't defined.
okay,
So that would be a constraint there.
very good, okay. So 319,
Would there be limitations as to the type of distribution lines, whether it be transmission or distribution or secondary?
So it's only gonna be distribution lines in this area? No transmission lines.
Okay.
this track 319 was done tabletop, but no actual survey. It was electronically subdivided to 166. And I was going to respectfully ask to request for a GIS estimate on this 166 lots. But again, you mentioned that it has to be configured.
Yes, sir.
Not on a tabletop.
That
Can we
would
do a
be a
tabletop?
constraint. That would be a constraint. Without the definition of a right of way, we don't have rights to go onto that property and put in lines.
Okay, understand.
Because it can change, right?
Yeah.
And we wanna do it right the first time.
Yeah, okay, so if we have Marine Drive, for example, and you turn into Paradise Meadows, those are both right of way. You know where Paradise is, right? Oh, yeah. but-
Okay, yes.
Okay, so, the Jigo Gym, Marine Drive, Paradise Meadows. So if you have that, they're right there.
Thank you, Pierce.
So if we have that, yeah, can you expand it, Pierce? So I would like to get the GIS, because the configuration and computation of the linear feet and how many span to fill this in.
Yes, sir. So part of this task, when we first met with Joey and his team, Mr. Burt's team, we gave them all of our data, right?
Okay.
Just for them to choose sites, and that's what we came up with, the 5 sites. So
Okay,
they have all the
understand.
data, we have GIS staff that can help
Okay,
and assist. with
that's
that.
on that property that's been registered and mapped and recorded. This one we can't do yet. You know what I'm saying? Right,
Yes,
this is a big.
right.
Okay, can we
Shirley
have
just wants to
319?
confirm.
Yes, we can verify, sir, with CLTC staff. and
Okay.
Provide whatever we
All
can
right.
as far as the agreements.
I see. The reason why is that we had one land use commission, they went to the rezoning process. So this property has been rezoned from agriculture to residential. So it's been rezoned and we have all the approval from the Guam Land Use Commission. And then we requested for a interest for any developer, this is development. But it ended on March of 2022. This is 319. Yeah, here's 319. This is map recorded. So this one can really do GIS and electronically give us a computation and let's see, what's that? The presentation that he has provided for the
Yes,
site. Nothing to install yet. No need to install power or the equipment to come in. All we want is the computation to put the power and span.
So I believe for track 319, sir, we provided that data to Joey.
Oh, with
For track 6 is,
with this kind of, okay, you did.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, and that's what we need to do, right? What comes and what gets filtered into this office,
Yes, sir.
we want to know. We need to know. Because we cannot do our planning if we don't know these data that come in and gets filtered
Do you
in.
have something for
That's, you see how we cannot do a long-term or short-term planning or do a creative financing.
So do we have a plan that you, for the 6 lot? Because I know we have.
So we gave,
5.
this data.
Sorry, we didn't bring any copies, we thought you
So
might have them.
we
Yes,
wanna
I
start,
have this.
this is the blind spot that we have, and when we have that, we can't plan. So, we come here once a month, we get an operation that's been here 30 days per the month, and we're blind, so, that's our weak spot. So, okay.
It may be a weak spot, Mr. Chair, but the thing is, you've given us a dozen things to do. We
Oh,
can't-
yes.
I have short staff, only 2 admin staff, one's out on sick leave.
Understand.
So you can't expect me, you're talking about a weakness.
Oh.
The weakness is a lack of staff, so that's an affront on me.
Oh, no.
No, I don't like that.
Yeah,
So,
please hold on that.
yeah, I
It's
know, but
not-
I want you to be fair with the staff that work here.
Yeah.
Right now, we have about 4 people on staff today.
Yes, I understand.
And I'm
you guys-
here, although I do have the flu, I'm still here working. So, don't say it's a
Oh.
problem.
Okay.
If you want, I'll go back to my agency and just leave you with another director.
No, we're okay. You see,
Okay.
you see how it shows here, right? That's all we're saying is to have a well-rounded view what's good for the north. I think we should give some to the south also. So, okay, so this is for is this for 319?
So site number 6 was track 319, sir.
Okay,
That was the 6th site that we included.
okay. So same phosphorus span in the north, is the same as the phosphorus span in the south.
Again, it's
Oh.
all tabletop, subject to, there's a bunch of other stuff, but
Okay, understand. Okay. Now, and it's good that you had this estimate last year, or,
no,
November,
just
December?
when site 6 was added,
That was
Okay.
just 2 weeks ago?
yes, sir.
I see.
Very recently, yes,
Okay.
when CLTC staff
Good,
approached us.
Yeah, so what I'm understanding is that we have about maybe 6,000 lots from the land for the land. And that includes, from Jigu, Dehidu, Agat, PD, Umadak, Inorahan, Talifofu. And a lot of them don't have power. One of the concerns is that if we put in power, for example, no sewer, and for example, with the, Gill Breeze, you guys understand, right? We put the power in, and there's no sewer, I think there was water, or there's water, no sewer, something like that. And what happens?
Water, no sewer, I believe.
Yeah, but there was power, so.
Again, that would be a constraint, right? Like,
Right, yeah.
you tell us where you want power, we'll bring it subject to all, addressing all the constraints
Yes,
up front.
yes. So that was just my point, so.
Yes, sir.
Again, with Mr. Burche, it's nothing, he was here only 2 months, I'm only here about 16 months, or, a year and a half, so we're learning the process. The process that's been here for 30 years, so we're just trying to see if we can enhance the system. Okay, so, and we wanted to invite One Waterworks to work with us because
How,
of,
how do you define a span?
So a span is two poles, between two poles, right? So one span would be two poles.
Okay,
with-
so this
with wire.
8,000 cost per span includes wire
Yes. Distribution line.
and,
It's an estimate.
and installation?
Yes.
And
So-
of course, it's estimated.
so 3-span would be 4 poles, 3 poles, or if we say 3-span.
A span would have to have one beginning and end. Yeah. So,
And then the 3rd span would be another 2, that kind of
No.
computation.
We would start with one pole, and then
What is your
span
typical
the
measure for a
second.
span? 200 feet?
180 to 200, yes. Again, depending on topography and
Okay, understand,
Other-
but at least we have the
other-
general
yes, sir.
estimate on,
So, Mr. Chair, we would like to, to discuss this, of course, more in detail, with staff and then, of course, with you. Our main concern today is whether or not we can get to the yes with the MOU. And you had mentioned it, Ms. Birch had mentioned it earlier, that time is of the essence. So we are going to the PUC this month, it is the 15th, next week?
29.
So the 29th, to the PUC for approval. Once the approval is done, we're gonna award the contract, and then at that point, the contractor will be issued the notice to proceed. Things will move very swiftly after then. So we have asked Mr. Birch, if we do get the approval from this commission, may we have permission to enter, to clear the overgrowth, the trash, whatever debris is on the existing lot. We have noted the history of the lot, and JR had mentioned, and also staff has been very good about giving us a history. The lot was used as a laydown yard before. So, we don't anticipate that there's going to be more than just clearing it, throwing trash.
Will you guys be putting up a security fence?
We haven't discussed that yet. We do have security guards on site,
Okay.
on that site. The site itself, our site, which fence Marine Drive, is fenced in, but it's only fenced in on 3 sides with the back open. But the security guard would be able to monitor that area. That's a good point, Commissioner.
Yeah, I agree that we should move forward quickly because time is of the essence. And pretty much GPA is leaving it open-ended for us to decide on location. So going back and forth and debating with GPA, which is the best site, that's a decision the board's gonna make. GPA is saying, well, you asked for 6 sites, you have their proposal, the cost. And of course, you could see that depending on the location, the cost to develop a site is gonna be, it changes. Whichever is easiest, whichever serves the best, or what we call the low-hanging fruit, which serves the most people in need. So I say that we leave that decision up to the board at a later time and move forward with this. GPA needs to get in there and clean up the site if they're gonna use that for the staging of their equipment for the next 3 years. And then we can take our time and decide which area this is gonna be, because their concern is getting the equipment moved. If we don't move on this deal, it's not a bad deal, it's actually a good deal. They're gonna move to Plan B. And there's always Plan B, C, and whatever. We're just the first one to come to.
I have no problem with the occupancy of the property. No problem.
Attorney Miller, have you reviewed their proposal for
Yeah,
the
it was-
memorandum?
As a place to start, as their counsel indicated, that there are blanks to fill in before it's ready for signature, but the content is fine.
So do we need a motion to make for the property?
Need a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement and authorize staff to finalize it and execute.
If I may, and also allow Mr. Birch to give us permission to enter.
Yes, so that it can clean up the property.
Okay, so may I make a motion to permission granted, or do I
That should be one, you're the acting chair.
yeah, I cannot vote, right? No?
The GPA guy.
You don't have a number fixed for this memorandum?
The lot numbers and the,
No reference number?
Yeah, lot number, right here.
Okay, in reference to memorandum of agreement for lot number 7054-R9, municipality of Jigo, for a period of 3 years, I move that we authorize and we approve this memorandum of agreement between GPA and CHamoru Land Trust. Upon review of director and legal counsel. That's my motion.
And we need to, and the motion needs to include the authorization to enter.
And the authorization for them to assess the property.
Do I hear a second? That motion carries. That completes that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay.
Okay, will you be able to go in? You
Yeah.
need a letter to that effect, I'll have one prepared for you.
Okay, and JR can help you with that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
We look
Welcome.
forward to working with you guys.
Is one waterworks here?
I don't know if we have one waterworks, I didn't know we had one waterworks. Yeah, we did, we placed that on the agenda,
Right.
and, we didn't know that if we have a project with one waterworks, or
I don't know, it was, so my, I guess my question, I'm not demanding or asking, I'm just asking.
Yes.
So all these 5 sites, right?
Yes.
We're gonna put in a certain amount of span. Do they have sewer?
That's not with GPA, that would be with waterworks. Now,
And that's why I asked,
And,
do we know, do they have? I mean, does our staff know?
my understanding is we don't have the infrastructure in there.
Okay.
I'd have to call one of the land agents in, but the ones that would know are out on sick leave today.
Understand, yeah.
So, and that's why, in that area that we were discussing, it'd be great to place that in, or in an area in Manila where we actually have people living there already,
Right,
that don't have power.
and have water and.
Yeah, they're living there, and we have to look at the others, to see if you have the other infrastructure in on those properties.
So that was my point, you know,
Yeah.
when I was asking on multiple sites, so.
I know,
You know,
but the
it's
thing
not
is to say that there's a problem with getting these numbers to you.
Oh,
This is something that's constantly moving, it's in flux, they just had their meeting,
yeah,
and then the staff involved with the negotiations, 2 of them are out on sick leave today. I think that I have the flu or something, and I'm wearing a mask not to share it with anyone.
and I thank you for coming. So-
Yeah, I know, it's important to get these through, especially we have constituents here
Right,
that need this to get through, and I'm hoping my throat hangs out long enough. And I know Johanna needs to take off soon enough, but,
I also have COVID, so
There.
just to let you know.
you have COVID now, I should be wearing a mask, you're sitting right next to me,
Yeah.
super.
No, it's just like a flu, so, but anyway, here's my
I,
point,
I
right?
had mine way back, so I don't have it.
Yeah, here's the general point. We have
Better
about,
face your mask, but it's not-
we have 11,000 lots, right? And you know, we really need the data, right? How many lots we have? How many spans are there?
We have 11,000 or so acres.
Right, and I wanted to see, you know, so we can do the planning, because, you know, but.
Yes.
We're only gonna be allowed to have a little bit more than 20 spans based on $8,000 a span.
Okay,
Exactly,
so,
and that's the thing, who can we serve the best out there the most?
yes,
And the rest, it's up to you, but I know that Manila has the most concentration of people that can be best served in that particular area.
that's.
And of course, you won't be able to make it all the way in.
May I request for a short timeout?
Sure thing, yeah. My throat, take a short break.
We're gonna be out of here by 4 o'clock or 4:30, so. Okay,
Yes, because Johanna needs,
I second the motion.
okay. Let's hustle.
5 minutes.
okay. You got this? Okay, wait, this.
What are you doing here? the hora, no, a las 3:30. I would like to call this meeting back to order. It's now 3:31. So we're on number 5, old business. E, status of 1995 application listing.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Chair, we have a bill that will fix all of these 5 issues here. Many of these issues here on the status of 95 application listing deals with succession. And you were there to testify on that bill, bill number 228-37. My understanding is on the agenda for the next session of the Guam legislature. And basically what that does, the bill 228-37 was to include grandparents, parents, siblings, and grandchildren of the VCS designated heirs, and also extending the designation to successors of applicants and VCs, and with retroactive application from the effective date of the law. The goal is to recognize the importance of extended family relationships and to protect their rightful interests. So it's worth noting that the speaker has included our recommendations in her bill. That demonstrates a positive response to the concerns that we raised at the last public hearing. So I recommend that because that would address these issues that were brought up of these 5, that because if this bill becomes law, you know, I believe I'm not sure when they're going to go into session, maybe next week or the week after. If it does come up, it could become law within the next 2 weeks, and that would take care of that. So my recommendation is to table those 5. Unless you want to go through and hear what we have to say about each one of them, but that's what's going to come up.
Okay, so any word, commissioners? There's 5, and this is all about succession?
Yes, all 5 are affected by the bill for succession.
Okay, and they have been notified?
I'm not sure, Joanna, are any of these people here?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
they're
so-
still pending.
Oh, okay, anybody here? Pangilinan? Mr. Pangilinan
Well,
is here?
if these are all for succession or due to succession, I tend to agree we should table this until after the legislature amends
Yes.
the rules for line of succession. Because then these would be no non-issue items.
Okay. So none of them are here, just for, out of respect?
Okay.
No, none of them?
I don't see any of them here.
All right, okay. So we'll move on. So do we need a motion to table this?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Motion,
Oh,
On the statuses of the 1995 application listing for Michael Stephen Pangilinan, John T. Quintanilla, Julita Sus Longuero, Anthony Palacios, and John Anderson Longuero. I move that we table this pending the legislative approval and line of succession.
okay, do I hear a second?
second.
The motion carries. Okay,
And
moving on.
I know for some odd reason the agenda, that's under new business, but it deals also with 228-37. And I know that we agreed with that bill at the legislature with the amendments. For some reason, it asked for an acceptance of the order of succession based on the draft bill. I don't know if
Go
you,
for, yeah? Or,
well, that comes later and it's on the same discussion as what we're talking about now. It's kind of odd that, or we could wait and get to it when we get there.
that's,
It's gonna be dealing with the same thing I just told you about.
okay, that's E.
Yeah, I just find it odd that that would be separated from the rest.
And that succession would be with,
That's what we're just speaking
E.
about right now.
Oh, maybe that's the other E? You see, okay,
Yes.
understand.
Yes, okay.
All right. We're good, so,
Does it
So-
apply to F?
No, that doesn't apply to F if it's different.
Yeah, Bill 228 applies to successorship, which is the listings on E status of modified. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so moving on to F. Table SBA loan guarantee request. Okay, so do we have this constituents here?
Okay, these were those that were tabled, but again, to advise you that this is where, yeah, I guess legal were listening closely on this. This is, these ones are affected by my letter for, request for, legal opinion from the Attorney General.
Okay,
Okay, so, I guess if you want, we can go through each one of them, unless you want to wait until the Attorney General, returns with his, or you wanna just hear them out, it's your decision.
yeah, so Mr. Flores, right, was on a unregistered property. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so, and I understand based on the report is that they, was that you're willing to relocate or
Provided,
some? Okay.
Please
Okay, we'll
okay,
get,
I can give a brief and then you could call them up and ask them what they.
okay,
Okay, so, Mr. Flores was issued September 3rd, 2002, agricultural lease on a portion of lot 7153, Jigo, containing an area of not more than 2 acres.
okay,
And based on his December 15, 1997, 11:17 a.m., his lease was board approved on, well, he says his lease was board approved on September 20, 2018. And on August 18, 2023, he submitted the draft loan authorization agreement. On December 30, 2023, a site inspection was conducted to validate the structure and GPS the area on February 7, 2024, a site inspection to validate occupancy on lot 10121 Jigo, which is unregistered property.
okay. So the request is for number 1 and 2? Item 1, right? It's what, SBA loan, right in the SBA loan guarantee approval. An approval to build on a residential home.
Chair, so in regards to the report that you have in front of you in regards to the recommendation, we're rescinding that recommendation until legal counsel can give their guidance.
For the relocation,
Yes, sir.
okay, and is there a lot shown for the relocation?
So in terms of what was presented, Mr. A, he's not here, so he's more versed in terms of this relocation. However, in regards to this recommendation, we're gonna wait until the legal counsel can give his advice.
On the relocation and the unregistered land?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and in the meantime, can Mr. Phil Flores continue to occupy the property and?
Well, we're not taking any action, and we won't until we get feedback from the Attorney General's office, actually from the Attorney General himself.
Okay,
Because, you know, he was a pre-occupier, and the property he's on right now is unregistered property, which is not allowed for by law.
okay,
And so what we're gonna probably look for is to relocate him.
all right.
So, but I guess, yes, we should hear them out.
Yeah, on his living condition, Chairman Managua?
Director Burt,
Yes.
isn't there also an issue based on the lot being agricultural?
Yes.
Yes, he was issued an agricultural lease. So, there's several categories that we submitted, that I submitted to the AG. There are actually 6 different categories. And for some people, they may be affected by one or the other, or sometimes 3 categories at once. So if we clear them on one, we still have 2 others to clear them on.
Okay. I understand that we approve loan guarantees for the first, I think, 10, right? We approved 10 on the first SBA loan. And all of them have, some sort of findings. But because
Yeah.
because it's a disaster loan, and because their homes have been damaged, we had legal counsel give us the green light to approve their SBA loan to construct their home so that they can have a place that's safe and sanitary in the meantime. And I would like to find out with Mr. Flores' condition and the family, because apparently they got approved for SBA loan. That means that the Small Business Administration has vetted throughout the location. It warrants a Small Business Administration loan. Now it's in this predicament. So what do you guys recommend, legal and Mr. Director?
Well, if you're gonna ask me what I recommend, I would recommend waiting for a legal opinion to tell us what action we can take. Because this has been a contention that I mentioned earlier that we've had since I've come in here about 3 months or so, is that these issues have popped up constantly. It's always there, facing us in the face. And when we read into the law, like the property they're occupying, and because they have a lease issued by CLTC, I think it's on the responsibility of the CLTC to offer them an option, perhaps relocation. But if they don't want to relocate, the issue with the lease is that it's for unregistered land. And in the law, it clearly states, you shall not lease unregistered land. It's very clear. It doesn't say may or anything else, it says shall not. So these are the issues that we've been facing with constantly every time we come here. So the decision is yours, commissioners, to make this decision. I would defer, of course, to legal for him to advise you on what course of action to take should you decide to pick up on this one.
Yeah.
But options could be offered. And perhaps a relocation to registered property.
And I understand from Ms. Johannes that, Glenn has kind of identified an alternative site, no? Okay. Kwento sa mo na.
State your name.
Oh, my name is Philbert Flores
Okay.
from Jigo,
Okay.
176 North Jigo. I don't mind the relocation, but it has to be 2 acres, because that's what's stated on my papers, on my lease.
And you will farm it
And
that way.
I have cows. I have 2 cows, cattle right now on my property.
Okay.
So where do you want me to put the cattle if you're gonna give me half acre?
Right.
Where am I gonna put my 2 cows in? If I can, 3, you have 2 cows, 1 acre, and 1 cattle is per 1 acre, right?
Yeah, guana dos.
Or those, right?
Yeah,
So that's 4 acres, because I have 2 cows.
yeah,
So, no, it's 2 now.
yeah. Secretary of,
I'm just
you understood
saying-
what he mentioned right there, and, just.
I guess-
I'm raising a cow right now on the
Yeah,
property.
but for legal to understand,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
at least,
Okay.
no, he doesn't
Yes, yeah.
speak,
Sorry about that, sir.
Sancho.
Sorry about that.
I got.
He
I'm just
understands.
so speaking my own language, because I was brought up like that, so.
I
I'm
figured
used
it
to
out.
speaking my own
Yeah.
language. This is where I'm
Arizona,
from.
Arizona, it's 40 acres per cow.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, for pasture.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to clarify on the statute, right? So what is the ratio, is it one cattle to 2, or, and in here again.
Supposed to be 2.
Well, and that's what we're saying, right? So we have to, again, look at the statute. I raise cows myself, but when I come here, again, one will say this, another one will say that, so the statute is not clear. It just said, 20 acres maximum, right? And that was my point, that a lot of statutes needs to be clarified. So, but the important part here now is that how are you living? And we know that you have an SBA loan.
Yes, yes, sir.
And that's the main concern. How's the home? And that's what we want to decide now, is that, of course, if there's an alternative, have you looked at the alternative side? You've seen that? Did they show you?
No, they haven't showed me anything yet,
Okay,
so I'm still waiting, so that's why I came to,
okay,
have to take leave from work so I can
yeah, thank you for
be
coming.
here. Yes, sir, we gotta work to make a living.
Yeah, okay, so, again, we understand that it's an unregistered land.
Yes, I
It's
understand.
no fault of your own.
They gave me an authorization to go out and survey the property, and that's what I did, I surveyed it the first time.
Based on the authorization and all. So, Mr. Director, of course, the question here is that, of course, your position questions, not to evict them, right, in the interim, that we get everything settled, and I would like to hear from our commissioners, what do they have to say, or if they have any questions. Commissioner Gabilu or Commissioner Bernali, to Mr. Gilbert and Mr. and Mrs. Flores.
It's not my intention to evict you. I would like to relocate you, and we'll work it out from there. But we can't do anything until we get an official opinion from the AG. But like I said, we can relocate you.
Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and just use the property to cattle my cow until you guys come up with a solution.
Until we resolve the issue.
Resolve this thing.
Yeah.
Right, and of course, Glenn will show you around when he gets back, you know, he's out today. I feel bad for you guys, as I should have stayed home too, but,
they
you
just
guys
have to
have,
get it
you've been
from
waiting,
there.
and that's why I'm here, is to try to get these things moving forward.
Okay.
But hopefully when he's back, he'll be able to contact you, because he told me that he came up one area, and then he found out it wasn't good, it was something that you might not like, he cans another area and mine. And hopefully he'll be able to show you the place so that you could look at it, maybe agree to a move.
Okay.
And
Because I got a lot of stuff I gotta move to, I got
Yes.
things that I
So,
gotta move.
Mr. Director, just to be clear, Glenn has showed 2 lots?
I believe he's looked at, so I don't know if he's shown it.
Okay, got it.
He's looking at another location.
Okay.
You have a lease?
Yes, I got my lease.
And
You paid the $99 already?
I paid $50 already, we paid our taxes for.
I paid property
our
taxes for the
tax,
property.
We paid our property.
Well, the reason I asked is if we relocate you, I wanna credit you
Mm.
Yeah.
to the new
But,
property.
I'd
But
like to
provided
add
they got
something.
water and power. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
go ahead, yeah.
Roosevelt Flores. So I've been communicating with SBA because of the situation we're in. Apparently, he says everything's upon approval once again. So should you relocate us, we're looking at a whole new structure, no longer not a renovation, but to fix up the house, change the.
Not a repair.
Yes, no longer repair, it's gonna be a whole new a whole new building.
Yeah.
So it's gonna have to go through a process once more.
Yeah, because, you know, land registration would take us, if we work hard on it, work fast, about 2 years. And that's gonna, by then, SBA, disaster loan is not gonna be available to you.
Right.
So the quickest way would be a relocation. We just need the CLT staff to get over whatever they came down with it and get back to work.
Yeah, so what it is that, we're trying to find out, well, with us being relocated somewhere else, would that, because we only have up to August, and I do recall, one of you saying that we can ask for an extension. And we can, with the letter that you said you will provide, right? But again, it's upon approval. Everything is upon approval. So, basically, we're stuck in a hole. Because not only can we not do the fixer-upper, we can't do anything, period, because the land is unregistered.
True. I can't
also-
speak for what previous administrations have done. I want to say that you're not the only one involved in this type of situation that has leases for unregistered property. I've been here now for about 3 months, and I found a few, and you're one of them. So the thing is now, moving forward, is to not continue the violation of law, but to correct it. And one of that would be, of course, relocation is the easiest and fastest. Because we could say, you could stay there, and then we'll go about the process of registering the property. But if we don't register the property, this will require us to go through the court system also. We can't identify who actually is if there's any other people claiming to own that piece of property. We have people on property, sad to say, that are on federal property. So we can't give them authorization or give them a loan guarantee for property that CLC does not own.
So this is why I was thinking that, because we have to go for another approval process, and this time for a new building, should we get relocated. If, once you give us that letter, which I'm not sure how long that's gonna take.
Well, I'm recommending that to the board that until I get a response from the Attorney General's office,
We won't have that letter.
But
Yes.
can we get a letter from you guys stating, so we can give it to SBA, saying that we,
No, the reason why is because when we do that processing, we need a lot description to do that processing. And we cannot do that processing if we're not relocated yet.
Find a lot, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Exactly, so everything is
So,
actually,
you understand that?
yeah, so we're still at that speed bump. Regardless if I start something with SBA, with that letter, if there's no lot number on that, they're not gonna move forward.
So,
When there's no-
if the correct is to find a suitable, alternate lot,
Well,
is that what?
Glenn is looking for it, at least before he got off the job for a while.
Yeah.
But, you know, as soon as he returns, he'll get back right on it. So hopefully we can get that.
Okay.
I got another question, sir. In case, right, you guys are only able to give us a half acre for residential, right, for example. And my lease says 2 acres.
Or we have the two
Uh,
cows.
Yeah, can I go ahead and be able to utilize that land where I have now?
While you're working
While
the
you guys
registry.
are working on,
Getting
for
the
example, I
registry.
get half acre right to build a house, right, for my family. And the cost that I got on that property now, can I be able to use at least that acre that I have there to continue raising my cows?
Oh, you mean the unregistered land?
Yes.
Yes, unregistered land. Until you guys find me another property that will suit me another acre,
Unless you're gonna sell it.
because that's what Cecile was saying, maybe a half acre. If that's all you got.
Well, if that's what,
That's
Can I
what
go
Glenn was saying
Glenn
at
was
the
saying
last
that.
meeting, that a
Around
half
that area
acre
where
that's
I'm at.
already registered.
Around the area where I'm at now. Okay, there's gotta be, he has some half acre that has water, power and everything. Because I have power and water in this property where I'm at now.
We've developed it.
Okay, and
We've been there so long.
I'm just saying that if I'm only given half acre, can I go ahead and use it as a residential, you know what I'm saying? For residential, and then I can keep it, utilize the agriculture for my cows.
Well, I guess it would be to find a substitute 2 acre and
Yeah.
put, you know,
Cattle.
all the
Yeah, so I can
activities
put
there.
my cattle and still build a
Yeah,
house.
and you can still build a home in
Okay.
agriculture. I mean, you know what things that is, it's only,
Yes.
all you need is the different lot number.
Yes, that's
That
what
has
we need.
water power, and 2 acres.
Yeah,
Right?
so I can go ahead and utilize the property
Or,
for
you know,
now.
that's an, but go ahead, Director.
you know, that's a decision the board will make. I can't say that we could actually give a letter of authorization to use unregistered
Oh,
land, not knowing there might be a cloud on the property
Right.
until we actually decide true ownership. That's why that goes through the judicial system,
Understand.
that process. So,
But for now,
but
can I go
nothing
ahead
stops
and?
you from doing it if nobody's laying claim and nobody else is using it.
Yeah.
It's just that COTC can't legally give you that authorization.
So once we find the 2 acres that has, you know, that
And,
area.
that's one of the issues brought up in my request, because of these issues.
Right.
That's why I prepared this and I sent it out the other day. Like I said, there are 5 different categories I wrote about,
Yeah.
hoping we get some clarification of what
So
we
how
can
long
and
are
what
we
we can't
looking
do.
at here?
Or
for
once
this?
Greg, once
A
Greg
response
gets
from the
back.
AG, I have no idea, they're all stretched, but they brought a lot of new attorneys in, so glad we have Attorney Miller with
Yeah.
us.
He was asking the
Moves
2
rather
acres, but
quickly.
asking was
Yeah, yeah.
how long is the 2 acres gonna, as soon
I-
as they find it?
It's up to Glenn to
Okay.
decide that for Mr. A
I
to,
hope it's
Yeah.
soon, at least before August, so we can do whatever we gotta do,
Right.
just behave to keep us
Once
going.
Mr. Glenn gets back,
Yeah,
yeah, he'll be out and about.
okay. So he'll be the one to give us a quote? Yeah, anything?
it would be him or someone that,
But Joe,
because the land agent is signed, that you're signed to, but he's the one that you've been contacting.
Okay.
He's the one handling your case, so then he would be the one.
yeah, he's in charge of the land agent, not me.
All right, okay.
Okay, expenses is massive, but in charge.
Okay, thank you. Just want to, thank you, Terry.
Napani ako guwala. Napani ako.
Okay.
Okay, next, Number F, Anita J.E. Cruz, Mr. Director.
Okay, Ms. Cruz approached the Chamorro Land Trust Commission requesting for a loan guarantee to rebuild her structure after Typhoon Mawar with an approval amount of $212,000, $195,000 for real estate repair and replacement. With the review, Ms. Cruz filed the original application date of Mr. Tanacio Cruz is December 7th, 1995, at a residential applicant. He requested to change his application type from residential to agricultural, which was administratively approved. Mr. Tanacio was issued on August 17, 2002, a ground lease for 2 acres on a portion of lot 7066, lot 4 Gigo. On January 21, 2020, Mr. Tanacio requested to relinquish his 2-acre lease to Anita J. Cruz in a notarized letter. An addendum effective January 28, 2020, transferring the agricultural lease from Tanacio Faji Cruz to Anita Faji Cruz. August 17, 2023, Ms. Anita requested the SBA loan guarantee and submitted the SBA loan guarantee and agreement. What it says there's no recorded survey map for a portion of lot 7066 R4 Gigo because the original application type is residential and lease issue is agricultural. The lease can be or is considered defective. Again, that's one of the issues here is for those people who were granted one lease and for whatever reason, the administration had passed, although it's, the way we view it today, there's no authorization to do so, transfer the lease from residential or from agricultural to residential, or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So that's listed in this, and I believe, Anita's here, you received the transfer from your brother, right?
Right.
Okay, and that's being addressed with Bill 228-37, to siblings. Okay, so, but there's, like I said, there's more than one category. One is the issue of between siblings, but that wasn't addressed in my letter to the AG because I know there's a bill before the legislature that would take care of that and fix that. The other part was now from agricultural to, the original application is residential, residential, and it's now agricultural, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the other part, and it's for 2 acres.
I see. Now, I guess the primary request from the list is another loan guarantee?
Yes, these are for loan guarantees on the table.
And your home is most likely the home is damaged?
It is.
Right, so again, we're back to.
The decision's up to the board.
Well, I'm in favor of the loan guarantee, of course, because it's it's a disaster loan, it's a humanitarian effort. And we have set the precedence for the first 10, that even with the minor or, unregistered land, we have to prove for the constituents to build or rebuild their home because they're living in a substandard condition. And I know it's only February, but typhoon comes, and Attorney Miller may understand that sometimes you have typhoon even during dry season. We had Pamela that was it May or something like that?
May, Pamela was in May,
Yeah.
76.
Right, so the point here is that Mrs. Anita J.E. Cruz is here for the Small Business Administration loan guarantee to repair her home. I haven't seen your home, but I'm pretty sure the SBA or the FEMA has already getting you, so take FEMA's word. And then I'll listen to your word. I'm open.
You have, the options you have available to you is in this. I know, like I said, this part of the categories is transfer from civil link. I got a feeling that that bill will become law. I don't think there's gonna be any opposition to it, but until it becomes law, it's still not the law, right? The other issue is, the change of application, from, residential to agricultural. That's the other one, and of course, I'm gonna be waiting for the AG's opinion. You have various options here. Of course, you take the responsibility like you did in all the other ones. That you've already approved or disapproved or tabled. You could approve, you could table, you could, table, waiting for the AG's opinion. The decision is up to the board.
So I'd like to, any word from the board?
Or, of course, the other one was to disapprove, so you have to vote that option there too.
Okay, very good. Commissioners?
Sorry, Chair, I was gonna say something. You just have to keep in mind that Ms. Cruz is still part of the audit casings that have not been concluded,
That's from the 200?
the OPA,
Right, okay,
the OPA audit.
Thank you, Joanne. I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, so for the SBA loan guarantee to assist,
Well, there's quite a few clouds that are hanging over this application for the loan guarantee deposit, and I think we need to wait for the EPA to give us a defined answer to this situation. And part of the problems that are occurring is maybe ratified by the legislature in the resolution that we have before them, successorship. So I would suggest that we table this until further feedback from the AG and from the legislature.
Madam Berdali?
I second that.
Vote. Okay, no objection, so,
Take the vote.
oh, may we have your vote? Help me assist. Okay, do I hear a motion to table?
That was my motion.
We have a motion and a second, so we're waiting on the vote.
Okay, so, motion carries?
You have to call for the vote,
Oh,
Mr. Chairman.
may I hear a vote for, vote, let's say, yes? Okay, motion carries. Okay, Ms. Anita, okay, so, can she continue being at the home until this is resolved?
Oh, yes, it's in progress, there's a process taking place until a decision's made. No action should be taken in between. No eviction, no movement, everything remains as is until we get the decision from the AG and wait for the action of the legislature. And of course, the bill, if approved by the legislature, will go to the governor for her signature or approval when it becomes law.
And you know that OPA audit on issue A or 1? Once that goes back, that will resolve that?
Hopefully,
Okay, it's done, Simon. Continue what?
To clarify the request for change of the application type, I did request for residential to agriculture, and this was dated July 28, 2016. This is before the lease was actually signed by the transfer. So, and it was notarized. I have a copy of it.
yeah, I'm going to admit that there was issues made by the CHamoru Land Trust in the past, and of course, we are obligated to correct all those to remain in compliance with the law. but their process is ongoing right now at the legislature to fix the law. And that's what we're gonna wait for, in some of these cases, is that the speaker, has moved forward on some of these issues. And of course, we're gonna talk to her about the other issues too, like the 2 acres versus the half-acre issue that was brought before you and with you right now.
Right.
As I realize that, decisions were made here in the past over 20, 30 years, or whatever, since your brother had that property,
Yes.
that was transferred to you.
Right.
And many times, the law was ignored during that period of time. And I have to admit that transferring property, it seems odd that the law would allow me to transfer property to my sister-in-law, but not to my brother. Those things have to be fixed.
Right.
The order of succession. And they've come to agree with us that those are errors that we have to work out. So hopefully we can clear all of that up. So don't worry, we're working on it, we're trying to fix it. I hope we can get it before your SBA term runs out, like we said to the 2 people earlier. It's just sad that these things have occurred over the years and nobody paid any attention to it. But now that we've had an order from the Attorney General to look at this, and that's what I noted in my letter, was the most recent legal opinion, and I asked for more clarification, further clarification on that. Because we're faced with this, and the next person that comes up is gonna have the same issue, I'm sorry to say. We're doing our best. I give a lot of compliment to the board here for sitting through this.
Thank you so much for.
And I thank the director, because we really had to request the legislature to start a bill. You
Yes.
may recall that right in this room when we were signing, five loan guarantees, and we asked the speaker to give us that assistance, and we had the bill, we had a public hearing. So hopefully by this session, that it will be approved, and then that will be resolved.
And the speaker actually came in and sat with us during one of the signings.
Right.
And she realized what was going on, so she's taking this to heart, so hopefully we can get all these issues cleared up. We just have to make sure that if you have, since a lot of this has to do with the way the law is written.
Right.
When we let you know where we find these defects with the law, that not just us, if we go down there as administrators or board members, it also needs to be the people affected that need to talk to our legislators so that they can fix these issues. I mean, some of them are real obvious. The one I like to use is the one the brother and sister I can't transfer or use as a successor, but I could give it to my in-laws, to their husbands or their wives. It seems kind of off there. So as we find these issues, we'll do our best to fix them. So hopefully, we'll get that done in time for you. We're pushing it. And I understand that part of that is on the agenda of the legislature, so I'm glad for that. I'm just sorry, the board just can't say yes tonight.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, welcome. Okay, item F, number 3, this is Bernice Fidela Nelson. Bernice Fidela Nelson.
Okay. I know the staff report I have is kind of lengthy, and my little thing here for the staff is a bit short. Ms. Nelson here tonight. The land agents and both the CHamoru Land Trust Commission, and I used also the land agents from the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission to try to look back and find any way that to find out if Mrs. Nelson would qualify for property. And as far as the land agents have found is that they weren't able to verify any evidence to verify Mrs. Nelson's residency as required by law. However, there are other factors to consider in her case, not just that alone. According to a 1999 letter from the Micronesian Area Research Center, that's MARC, at the University of Guam, they provided in her file a document that they believe should be sufficient to verify Mrs. Nelson's claim for residency at Guam. Their assessment, combined with that of the land agents who have conducted extensive work on both ends, verifying genealogy and land-related matters, I believe should be taken into consideration. And while the MARC report may not be conclusive, it presents evidence that could potentially qualify Mrs. Nelson for the CLTC lease. Given the complexity and unique circumstances surrounding the verification of residency from 1898 to 1968, it's important to approach this case and others like it with fairness and willingness to consider all available information. And therefore, you know, given the complexity, right, of the surrounding issue of genealogy research and the need to accurately determine the eligibility for CLTC leases, it's crucial to establish a dedicated entity to assist in this regard. And the Department of CHamoru Affairs, they have what we call the Guam Archive. The Department of CHamoru Affairs has about 5 divisions. Only 2 are stood up. The Guam Archives is kind of dormant at this time. But it has they have a wealth of experience in preserving historical records and maintaining genealogical information related to the Chamorro people, and they are well suited to undertake this type of responsibility. And what I'm recommending is that by collaborating with the Department of Chamorro Affairs and the Guam Archive, the CLTC board can establish a genealogy support division within their existing infrastructure. We don't have the staff here that can do that. Land agents are experts in land, not necessarily genealogy. They do research and do great research. And I gotta tell you again that it wasn't just the CLTC staff that looked into this, it was also the ancestral land staff. Our land agents there did the same thing, and I found issues with both ends, and that's why I say there are other factors. So the proposed system that I'm proposing would involve the collaboration to establish guidelines and protocols for verifying genealogical records and determining eligibility for the CLTC leases, that the Department of Chamorro Affairs, the Guam Archive, could provide access to their collection of historical records, while experts within the department would conduct research and assist applicants in compiling the necessary documentation. Implementing this type of support system would ensure a fair and transparent process for all applicants, as clear criteria and guidelines for qualifications could be established. Such a system would enhance the accuracy and efficiency of the lease qualification process, similar to the role of the U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs, the BIA, in tribal enrollment. Additionally, this collaborative effort aligns with the Department of Chamorro Affairs Archives mission of preserving Chamorro heritage and would serve as a valuable resource for the community. So I request that the CLTC board consider this proposal and initiate discussions with the Department of Chamorro Affairs, Guam Archive, to explore the feasibility of establishing a genealogy support division by taking this step. The CLTC can significantly contribute to ensuring that the CLTC lease qualification process is thorough, fair, and consistent for all. That's a proposal for you. So it's a bit complicated, it's a bit complex. I know Mrs. Nelson has said that she's been in Guam. We found some records, we didn't find enough to say that the key part, I mean, was she here during the time of the Organic Act, when the Organic Act naturalized people that were U.S. nationals? She was not naturalized under the Organic Act. She was naturalized later through marriage in 1975. The Organic Act is 1950. So if we look at that in specific, then she doesn't qualify. But then here comes the MARC Library that has their documentation. And while they're not, again, they do work with genealogy, but they don't, I don't know if they are experts in that field, but neither are we. Our expertise is with the land, but our land agents are asked to go back and check into these things. The correct, and I've done my research with the advice of Attorney Miller. He's had experience with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. He knows the processes that they go through, and he advised me to look at these things. And I talked with Melvin Warpat Mora, and he agreed. He says, yes, they should be the ones. The problem they have is that the archive is dormant. So he's gonna need our help to support him to get it activated. And in a way, that collaboration would help us have someone, like Attorney Miller says, gives you a card that says you are a bona fide Chamorro, you are this and that. Just like he said that people, like the federal government gives to veterans. Nobody questions a veteran, so they come up and show you their ID card saying they're a veteran. That will get you through the door. And we could do this, and that would streamline our process here, so that every time we have an issue like this, our land agents do not have to go all the way back to what we call the first books to determine this. In this case, going back to 1898 and beyond, to determine, are you Chamorro or not? Are you Chamorro of Romanian ancestry, right? Or Romanian of Chamorro ancestry, or of Saipan? And to be honest with you, all people in Saipan, all the Chamorros, originally came from Guam. It's just determined by the timeline, because of the Organic Act sets that timeline. And the law sets a timeline. So commissioners, it's your decision. Of course, that is also part of my letter for legal opinion to the Attorney General. He would give us hopefully some clarification on that. But on the side, I think we should start working with the Department of Chamorro Affairs, that is DCA, and see if we can get this moving with them. I already made contact with Mr. Owantat Bora, and he agrees it's something that he'd be more than happy to work together and collaborate with us on, because he feels this is an area that we're lacking.
Good. So on the timeline, based on Mrs. Tubella's, Mrs. Nelson's documentation for the first chapter 75A, where does she stand?
Based on both ancestral lands and Chamorro Land Trust, the answer is we can't find any evidence
to qualify. Okay, then now we go to chapter 75 Alpha.
It'll be the same thing. We don't find any evidence to qualify it. But then there is the letter from the Mark Library.
And the letter from the Mark would be to qualify her on 75?
It certifies her residency, but it doesn't give me a time period.
That she was naturalized from the Algerian
Well,
or something like that.
I was here on 1948.
Yeah, understand, yeah.
So
But the naturalization was the key documentation that makes that determination between 50
and that's where our expertise is lacking, to determine that, and that's why I approached the Chamorro Affairs, to ask them for their expertise.
What actually did the Mark document state?
Joanna, do we have that, or Dexter?
The mark research only gives you the names of your ancestors. So it's determined that with that.
Do you have a copy of the letter?
Okay, so then,
From what
they
point?
give you slide of your ancestors.
Yes, just the lineage, just the names.
And that, for the record, so
Yeah,
those
the
data
yeah.
compared to the data that Mrs. Nelson has, gets in
Here it is.
1898 to
Yes.
1950.
When Mark does their genealogy research, they go as far
Here.
back as they can.
Yeah.
So it's not
I have a
necessarily.
copy, Dexter has copies for you.
Okay, so that qualified, Mrs. Nelson,
Unfortunately, based on the research that done,
the major US on the 1950 Organic Act.
and based on the report that was concluded by the land agent, she doesn't qualify under 75 or 75A.
And then.
But for some reason, the board, back when she got her lease from Chamorro Land Trust, said it was sufficient.
Understand.
So there's the area of clarity that
No,
we
that's
don't
good,
have.
yeah, and what was the evidence that they have at that time that qualified it, so you know that.
Dexter is making, yeah, I can't say what that is.
No problem.
All I have is the copies that Dexter is making right now. But the decision will be yours, of course. Again, that's included in the letter. I asked the AG for his opinion. And if he asked me everything I asked for an opinion, I would say wait till we get the results. But the decision, the final decision is yours. I did find, when looking at that and going through it and talking with Attorney Miller about how they operate with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, I decided to go through and I talked to Melvin Bora, he says, yeah, that's some area that should be within their area of expertise.
Good point.
So,
Okay, commissioners, anything?
Yeah, Mrs. Nelson, you attended school here in Guam.
Right.
If I mention, you went to Santa Barbara School,
San Vicente,
San Vicente,
yeah,
and what year was that?
1960.
1960?
After the typhoon, I was here, the typhoon. So the typhoon, I guess before the typhoon, I was here. I was also here with 1940 and then we're like probably already old enough, we was like 1951.
You mentioned in your, one of our last meetings, that your family, Tudela, is that your grandfather or?
It's, my grandfather is Joaquin Sablan Tudela. My great grandfather is Francisco Ramirez Tudela.
Okay, and I see Mr.,
And I gave the guy, my ancestor up to 5th generation. And they're all from here.
you mentioned, your grandfather or your great-grandfather owning property in Guam?
My grandfather Francisco Ramirez Tudela, yeah. That's what my dad said that my grandfather owns property in Santa Rita.
In Santa Rita.
If I may say something?
Yes.
The Tudela family also owns Anderson Air Force Base before the Otero got it.
Yeah.
So, and I also like to explain that I personally, my mom is from Guam, my dad is from Saipan, I was born in Saipan, and by derivative, I became a US citizen when I was born because my mom was an American citizen. But when I came to Guam, again, I was processed and was made American citizen for the second time in my life. So if anybody's more American, I think I am, because I've been American citizen twice. You know, I think her situation falls in the same.
Sorry, Senor, can you please state your
Antonio
name?
Sablan, Artero Sablan.
So
Anyway,
Tatambiu
and I-
is
the
Francisco
posit-
Tudela, Tatambiu, Iguelonia,
Her great-grandfather.
is Francisco.
Yeah. My great-grandfather is Joaquin Sablan
Oh.
Tudela. My great-great-grandfather Francisco Ramirez Tudela.
Ramirez.
And I am also Tudela. So, our roots is Guam, not Saipan. All the Tudela, there's plenty population in Saipan for Tudela, but they were originally all from Guam.
Okay, so that being said, Director, based on Attorney Miller on that language, right, would that satisfy the definition on chapter 75A or public law 12-226? I mean, I'm asking out of ignorance. 12-226 makes that specific definition, and chapter 75A also clarifies that definition, as well as the Organic Act of 1950. So based on those reference statute, where does that stand? Again, I'm asking out of ignorance.
Mr. Chairman, members, ultimately, it is your decision. The law establishes criteria, the law sort of draws lines and says, everybody on this side of the line is yes, everybody on that side of the line is no. But the law doesn't establish the process or set out the requirements for how any one particular person proves which side of the line they were on. Like everything that comes in front of the commission, the staff puts together recommendations. provides you with information based on their expertise and their, and the resources that are available to them. At the same time, you hear from your constituents who add to the conversation, but ultimately, the decision whether somebody qualifies is up to you all. And then, based on your decision, just to carry my advice to sort of its logical conclusion, if you say no, they don't qualify, you run the risk that they sue you and you get in front of a judge, and it's really the judge who has the ultimate authority. Or if you say, yes, they do qualify, well, you run some risk that sort of somebody else were to sue you and say you made a wrong decision. But the risk that you're going to get sued is relatively small. So my advice to you is you've heard the information, the best information staff has available. You've heard the information from your constituent. Ultimately, it's your choice.
Good point. We got sued in 1997, civil case 17-00113. And I'm not sure, have you briefed our attorney on that lawsuit? No. Please do. And we were sued. And it's good, thank you for that. So, and that was just based on this kind of scenario. And that's what changed chapter 75 to chapter 75A. Because in the beginning it was alleged that it was racially based. It was racial based. Just to be clear for everybody that's listening, the program is not racially based. It's based on the condemnation of the property. It's not based on bloodline, or if you have a quarter blood Indian or quarter blood Spanish. It's based on the condemnation proceedings from the federal government to the local population. That's what changed. So now we have passed that vetting qualification criteria of qualified based on the U.S. citizenship. It's not work. We passed that based on the Public Law 35-112. So if I can hear from the commissioners if they have anything to say, because we're at that category now, because they're improperly in that kind of, that was recorded by the court at that time. That was condemned. That's
Bernice, in your last appearance here with the board back in January, you mentioned that your family had land in Anderson. And if you recall, I asked you if you could produce a deed that validates that claim.
That's what we're gonna do.
Okay, so you're still working on it?
We're still working on that, but we also have a land in Santa Rita.
Well, whichever you can come up with first that validates your lineage to having property that was condemned by the federal government or the local government. That would make life very easy for you.
So in the meantime, I just stay there and.
As I told you in last month's meeting, I'm not going to chase you out of the property until we make a decision.
Okay.
The decision can go one of two ways, but me personally, I'm not looking to evict you, but you have to meet the status for qualifying.
Okay. So if I get evicted in like 2 years from now, or whatever.
Well, if you find a copy of the deed,
Okay.
that secures your position.
Commissioner, this also is not just if your land was condemned, but if you were denied use of property, you may not have owned it, but you just use it for your livelihood. That's another part of the law.
No, but I'm just going based on what she told us in our last
Right.
meeting, that they had land in Anderson Air Force Base.
Right.
So if you can provide a deed that shows that you had land in there, that makes your claim strong.
Yeah, another thing I guess could be some kind of affidavit where she signs it, I guess that she's telling everything and the truth and all that, and If not, I forget what the affidavit would be, but some affidavit saying that you're attesting that this to be true. And then if it found that you weren't, then of course you'd be held for that.
Mr. Chairman, members, the director is pointing out, as he talked about that in this particular case, ultimately it's your decision whether applicants qualify for the various programs that you all manage, and it's also your decision what kind of proof you're going to want to see in order to evaluate these claims. We can, you all have the discretion to direct staff, don't even bring a claim forward without this document and this document and this document, or you can direct staff to, bring forward all the claims that people come forward with, and you'll evaluate them as you wish. But I think in this case, the commissioners made an excellent point that the deed, my expectation is a deed will resolve your eligibility for all the commissioners, but short of a deed, you're putting them in a difficult spot to just take your word for it, what your ancestors were up to 50 years ago.
I've been there 40 years, so why now that, I put so much, it's a farm, and it's not it's a medicinal farm for the kids to.
The reason that you're in this situation is because you applied for an SBA loan?
Yes, but see, if
And
I
then-
don't apply that, you guys never know. And
But
I'll be there.
that's what caused the investigation to be instigated.
But since the beginning, they approved everything since
Well,
2000 and
I
1975.
can't answer for what happened in the past, but I don't want to commit the same errors going forward into the future.
Well, there's another option actually. You're running a business. You can apply for a business,
But I
a
don't sell,
commercial property.
but I don't sell my product. I mean, I don't sell the plant, I just give it to whoever illness you have.
Excuse me, can I say something? I am
State your
Ariel,
name.
I was about to. I am Ariel Anita. That's my name. I'm a friend of the family. And something I want to, she runs a nonprofit at Ahmed Farm. It's a herbal botanical garden. She goes around to the school. She's in the community, farmer. She does all of this free of charge. She doesn't charge anybody to come in. She hires the people. She paid for the irrigation. She paid for the plants. She did this over a period of time. So with that, it's now, because of this, she has to suffer and be in challenge of her heritage. It's been proven every time she's asked, she's come forth and given information from the beginning. You're saying that's not, you don't want to go in the past, but you gotta also rectify what they did in the past and make up for that mistake. Because that's unfair to her and her family going forth. Because she's still a commodity in the community, still working in the community, free of charge. She's not getting paid. This is nonprofit. You don't get paid. She's out there every morning at 6:30 doing bush cutting. She's 75 years old doing that. She's working the land. She's tilling. She's paying other people with amount of money she gets. She's not getting any, like people pay. Like you go to the zoo here, you pay. You go to the aquarium, you pay. You go into a restaurant, you pay. If you want to get lessons, you pay. She doesn't charge. She goes to the school for free and teach them about their culture, their things. That's what she's doing. She's making sure you maintain your Chamorro culture so you understand what Chamorro is and what Chamorro medicine is and how valuable it is to one. She, that is a bigger asset that needs to be asked. if you're gonna put this down, where are they gonna go to learn about Chamorro medicine, the Chamorro culture, what to do? That's a bigger thing. You're saying it's, oh, well, you know, just let's pass it off. She's a big asset. What are you gonna do to compensate her if she has to move? And her family, and uproot. That's all they know, is pass this land from there and there and there. I'm sorry that I'm boring you, Commissioner. I'm really sorry. I'm just really compassionate about having something and losing something and this is why I came to Guam for something like this, to be part of something like this, because I find Guam so special and the people so valuable. I yield to the floor. I'm done.
Mrs. Bordallo, big honor goes to Paul, your husband. And also, this is passage of the Tomorrowland Trust. Also, it finally got implemented through the effort of Angel Santos. Angel Santos was the Magalahi of the Nation Tomorrow. I stand here, or sit here in front of you. I am now currently the Magalahi of the Nation Tomorrow. So I support what Mrs. Nelson is doing, and I believe that, you know, within the, if it's in a gray area, I ask you to really consider her, because what Errol has mentioned, that she is a big asset to our community. I have personally, before even knowing her, went up to her farm and I looked for some herbal medicine for cure of a friend's ailments. And then I had the opportunity to meet her mom and herself, and we established that, hey, wait a minute, we're related, you know. So anyway, as again, speaking as a Magalahi Nation tomorrow, I would highly support her if it's in the gray area. So please consider that.
I wanted to maybe tie in with what Mrs. Nelson is operating now. And on Chapter 75A 108, it does establish a cottage industry. And of course, it includes farm produce, you know, farm true practitioning. Number 5, Suruhana. That's what our sister was saying here. So this is another option. You know, aside from residential, it could be under the Suruhanum. But you know, this is just a recommendation. It's not that we were bored as you were speaking, but I was referring to the statute. So, and probably Director Burchett can vouch. But what I'm saying is that way back then, 30 years old since, was that the Senator Prober Daddy authored the chapters 12-112, the Chamorro Land Trust. We gathered to compose how do we want the Chamorro Land Trust to be, to progress, to envision the future. So this is part of it, to enhance the agriculture and residential operation of the property. So again, Chapter 75, Director, for your reference, it's another option that, well, but you know, we have to get into that category of what is Suruhana, an alternative medicine, and I believe this is one.
Again, this is something that Chamorro Affairs would handle, and to make you like card carrying Chamorro, if you want to call it that. That's outside of our area of expertise.
Yeah.
And that's why, like Attorney Miller and I said earlier, there is a gray area, and the board is the one that makes the decision. You're the ones that will clarify that.
So I guess the legal question here is that, do you have to qualify based on 75 or 75A to get into chapter 75-1081. And, you know, we can clarify that, and maybe we can have that as an additional research from the Attorney General to give us. For you to do a cottage industry, do you need to be qualified based on the 2 statute? Like that. I mean, you know, we're operating the drag strip, drift and the raceway and the, was that tomato farm? Without a qualification, so maybe this is where we can apply. Thank you. So, work in progress. Until we finalize all the legal questions that we're bringing up here. Is there any other comments from the commissioners?
Bernice, just from me, my recommendation to you is if you can find a deed that shows that your father or your grandfather had property that was condemned by the federal or local government, or you're making a case for being denied use of the property, which is an extreme for the other side of that thing, but if you could dig up a deed that specifies that you had property in the base, or in conjunction, go to CHamoru Affairs and have them provide records for you.
Maybe you could go to the Department of CHamoru Affairs. They're in the ad loop on the breezeway when you drive through in the bottom. You don't have to climb up the stairs or way at the very bottom. Railgun, walk platform. If he could give you something that says, I mean, you're providing local herbal medicine like a Surahana would provide, maybe you can give you a card saying you're a Surahana. According to the chairman, that according to 75A, that may qualify you. Is that what you're referring to?
Right, yeah. In that criteria, what, I mean, you know, we need to go through the process of.
Because that's outside of our area of expertise. And as I said, the decision is a gray area as far as I'm concerned, and also Attorney Miller. We're saying that, you know, it's not entirely clear which way this is going. That's what we're saying. The decision is on the board to make that clarification. But if you want further information, then of course, we can do that. And I guess if he could declare you as a local bona fide Surahana, I don't know what the rules are for that. But
Well, she's been practicing it.
for years, she said 4 years.
40 years.
And
What more?
I know, I had my uncle, my father-in-law, they were Surahanos, and they didn't have to have a card, everybody knew it. But in this case, you're asking me the case, but she's been growing these products for years.
Growing and.
And actually.
And, was that applying?
Applying the medicine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to prove that. There's nowhere in Guam do you get a medical certificate for being a Surahana or a Surahana.
Meanwhile, though, we're still waiting on the AG to give us a definitive answer. Okay, he's looking at your case also. So I move that we put this on hold until further notice.
And then we do more research into the Surahana.
Yes, gives her more time to.
That's another option.
So you've heard of Melvin Wampat-Warner, right?
Yeah.
Department of CHamoru Affairs. He's down at Adelup. He's at the lowest level down there. Tony, you know where that's at too, so speak to him and see what we can do. And maybe as the Magalahi of Chamorro Nashan, you can also help out with that.
I mean, I got a lot of certificates from school. From going to their school, I got a stack of them.
And I'm aware that the AmeriCorps from UOG comes over to your farm, so.
It's even from Japan, the kids, and Korea, and a lot of doctors from Philippines come over.
Yes, so.
Yeah, so you know, everybody knows the Alma farm.
Yes, And I have to admit that a lot of the local medicine actually works. I'm aware of that. So, it's up to
You
you.
have a motion?
Yes, I made the motion already.
Or second.
So all those in favor say aye. Okay, so motion carries. Okay, está, si tu smasi, no? Te continua. Magalay. No? Te continua. Está, si tu smasi, ah?
Si just want to say,
Tony, you said that Tudela sold it to the Arteros.
I'm sorry.
That Tudela sold the land to the Arteros?
Well, there's some complications and then they're telling they buy it from the Tudela one. It's just that we need to check the records, but I know when I was searching for abstract of title,
Yeah.
the Tudela's names are there as the owners of Anderson.
So bring that.
Okay, boy, you wanna come to my house and help me search my records?
No,
You can get it
you
at
go
land
to
management.
the land management.
I will,
Or
of
do
course
a
I have to do that.
title research
This lady has
on it.
been a big help for me, so, I would definitely take the time to help her out.
Yeah,
You can go to an escrow company and ask for abstract,
you're right.
and they'll tell you who owns the property.
Ages ago.
Yeah.
Commissioners, also the time,
Yeah.
Johanna is the one taking the summary of motions and all, she has to leave right now, and also Attorney Miller.
So,
And,
Okay.
yeah, so
Yeah. You, I have to apologize to
I
everybody.
would recommend that we recess and you set a restart date,
it's,
maybe Thursday or Friday next week.
Okay, and, the open government law requires us five working days, so that would be Thursday, we can do Thursday. Or,
Is
I
Monday,
don't know.
Monday a holiday or Friday, right? Because you have to go to Attorney Miller has to leave.
What's your first name?
Lee.
Lee will give you a break this time. Our meetings usually run into the evening.
Yeah, I thank Attorney Miller because he gives me the facts straight up.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, I have to apologize to everybody over here, they took their time to
But we are short staffed and.
understand. Yeah,
And,
so,
I don't have anybody else to stick around with us to run the equipment.
yeah, so, do we have a, do we need to make a motion?
you have to go and recess.
Yeah, motion to recess,
Okay,
and somebody said that.
so do we have to take a vote, or?
You have to say the day or not?
Yes,
Yes.
recess till
Okay.
whenever you wanna get together
So
again.
5 days is the required, and if it's a holiday, not to count the holiday as
Yeah.
day,
February 23rd,
and 23rd is,
no, just recess until February 23rd, 1 o'clock, so that's what you have.
no, we're gonna start at 9 this time, or
9 in the morning?
No, I'm serious.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
I got a question, but
Well,
I know
let's
this agenda
let's take
is
the, let's take
on
the
this
motion
paper,
and the vote, please.
but I was
Okay.
told to come here for an approval from you guys, for me to get a surveyor,
And
because,
Are you on the agenda?
no,
oh, and who?
and I've been sitting here already for almost,
Yeah, who told you to come for the survey? Or-
Jessica, and the acting
Yes.
director, whoever he was.
I'm the acting director, I don't
I
remember
don't know
speaking
who's
with
that
you.
other guy that was here.
What other guy?
Oh, see,
Mr. Chairman, if we could vote on the motion recess
yes,
and
because,
then.
Yeah, but get your details.
I just need that document because my paper, they surveyed the place already, but it's, how you call it? Insufficient, because it wasn't record, the person passed away.
There is a motion on the floor.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Okay, motion carries.
Okay.
Now we need a motion
To,
to,
for the date. Okay, and what's the closest date?
What's the date?
Five days?
Do you wanna, what day do you want it to?
We say 9 o'clock on the 23rd.
On the closest, yeah. 23rd is a
23rd
five-day
is a
notice,
Friday.
where, do we have to do a five-day notice?
No, we don't have to.
Not
Oh,
before
it's a
recess.
It's a recess.
It's a recess.
You can
Also,
do
so
anything.
can we do it on Tuesday? Because Monday's a holiday, right?
Yes, sir.
So can we do it on a Tuesday?
Part of this is where we're gonna go through this thing from GICC.
Okay, so maybe,
Give us
Thursday.
a working day, right, because tomorrow's Friday. Yeah,
Maybe what, next week Thursday, a week from today, at
I'm open.
9 AM?
Yeah.
yeah,
So
give us time to
Thursday
work on
night.
that, because that too is tabled until later.
Okay.
And
So-
give us time to go through that and get that information so we can vote on that one
Okay,
too.
so Thursday, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock's
Yeah,
fine.
okay. Y jueves y las ready. Okay?
Yeah,
Come back over and get
9
a,
a.m.
an approval?
We cannot.
Is there a motion?
We
Is
cannot
there a
resolve,
motion for Thursday
we
at 9
cannot
o'clock?
resolve your question because you were not on the agenda.
Yeah, because they told me to come here and I was looking and I'm sitting here for a couple
Yeah,
of.
I'm sorry about that, but we can't act on items that are
So
not
how
on
do
the
I
agenda.
go about
Thursday at
getting
9
it?
Second,
Because I need to finally.
Thursday at 9? Thursday at 9?
February 23rd is the, go back, come back.
Okay. I
Thursday,
second.
22nd.
Okay. Motion carries.
Right?
Now, before the actual recess occurs,
Oh,
I move that we include this lady in our next regular board
We
meeting.
cannot,
Because
it's open government law requires that we give notification of
No,
everything
for
on
our
the agenda.
next open,
we have to.
our regular board meeting.
Regular board meeting will
Next
be the
month.
3rd of, yeah.
Yes.
And then, see, these are all the long guarantees that are here, so.
But I'm losing our staff, but I have a skeleton crew as it is
Chuck
right now.
Kim,
Mr. Chair, take a vote
For,
Sir, you have to
to
say the
include
date,
her
sir.
into the next,
Chef, you have to follow the open government law, right?
for next month.
Oh, for next month?
Yes.
not this 23rd.
Yeah.
Take
So
a vote.
go to, for next month's agenda.
Yes.
This is,
And Mark,
Take the
not
vote.
in the number?
Robo, see, my husband passed away and I need to get the lease.
Your full name, ma'am, and we can include it on the. next one.
Elizabeth.
Okay, I'll just get your name after this.
Dave, you have to take the vote.
Okay, attorney.
Dave, you have to take the vote.
I'll give you a text or call you when I-
Commissioner,
Keep going second, see,
Wait,
you don't want.
digest
Right
that.
now?
to say the date
Oh,
of the recess for next week.